And we are live on the 59th edition of the Redman Group. I'm your moderator, Donovan Sharp. Redman Group is brought to you in part by the 21 Convention Patriarch Edition, an event for fathers by fathers. The event is from May 3rd to May 5th and will be the first of 3 events this year. Tickets are available right now at the21convention.org. Again, that is the21convention.org. You can also get on the VIP list for the 21 Convention this summer, which will be held in Poland. Getting on that VIP list puts you first in line for early bird ticket access, meaning you get a substantial discount if you buy early. Today's show is going to trigger a lot of females, and it may even trigger some dudes out there, so buckle up, guys. But before we get started, let's go ahead and introduce today's panel. Starting at middle linebacker, making his return today after a few weeks of decompression after the successful release of his body language course, is Asian Ass Pirate Expat, Jonathan of ModernLifeDating.com. Follow him on Twitter at ModernLifeJohn. On Instagram, search Modern Life Dating. ModernLifeDating.com is where you can find his content like Triple Your Tender. Our free safety today is the founder of 4R Consulting, Ryan Stone, at _Ryan_Stone is where he can be found on Twitter. You can also search the same thing to find him on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel where he does the Redman Group pregame show with Carl called Red Morning. RyanStone.com is where you can find his exclusive content and book one-on-one consultations. And if you want to support him even further, make sure you check out his Patreon page at _Ryan_Stone. Starting at defensive end is the most interesting man in the world who will eventually catch an STD from one of his 6 dozen tender thoughts he's banging. Carl, Black Label Logic. Carl can be found on Twitter at Black Label Logic, as well as his website, blacklabellogic.com. At cornerback is the godfather of the Manosphere, Rollo Tomasi. He is the author of the revolutionary book series, The Rational Male. Follow him on Twitter at Rational Male. You can also catch him here on the Redman Group on his YouTube channel and on the Pat Campbell Show every Friday morning at 9:05 Eastern on Talk Radio 1170 in Tulsa. I'm going to be at Strong Safety today. You guys can find my content on DonovanSharp.com, YouTube, Patreon, and of course, the Donovan Sharp mobile app. I'm on the air Monday through Thursday afternoons at 5 and 5:30 Eastern. You can also access my content through the Donovan Sharp mobile app, which you can download on DonovanSharp.com or on Patreon. Gentlemen, it's good to have you guys on this morning. How are we doing?
Bueno.
Oh, wow. We're doing the this is Redman Group. So you're going to be Royo today.
Royo. I'm Royo today. Yes. No,
I'm good. I'm Genki.
Good stuff. All right. Jonathan. So Jonathan, your body language course was a huge success. And as we all know, we normally need some time to wind down and decompress after a big project. What's happened since the last time we saw you here on the Redman Group?
So basically, I've been prioritizing all members in the body language mastery course. Over 100 guys signed up, and literally every day, right after my morning radio show, I do a private webinar for the men in the body language mastery course, and then 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do a nighttime webinar. And this is just it's like a free-flowing question and answer situation where the guys just ask me questions, and the topics range from getting money to getting women, to cryptocurrency, fitness, gym, TRT, moving abroad, feminism, the whole 9 yards. It's just a complete. We had this one guy teaching him how to actually fight the divorce system, because right now he's getting extorted from the government for $2,100 a month. Literally, it's seriously one of the greatest things I've ever done. And then these guys have private access to my men's only Facebook group. So for all the guys, I'm getting a lot of inquiries now. People are trying to get into body language mastery, but registration is closed and it's opening again in June. And the price is going up. I told you guys from the get-go, this is the standard. I'm getting in the groundwork. These guys who committed to me, I'm committing to them. For those of you who couldn't get in, then every day, literally from Sunday to Friday, I do my morning show, which is on YouTube, Interview with the Man. Just type in Modern Life Dating right here onto YouTube, and you'll see me every morning. You can call in, get your questions answered, and then at night you can get your daily Red Pills with Donovan as well.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Shout out to King Nick with the $12.34 super
nice.
Like that 1, 2, 3, 4 salute, fellas. Carl, what you been up to, man?
Well, as you know, I haven't published much in the blog for a while now. It's starting to go on 4 months, and that was mostly because I was getting kind of bored with doing just the long-form essay thing. So I started kind of an ad hoc experiment now, since I made the most. I'm logging everything I do on Tinder, and I'm also running careful stats on everything I'm doing. So I'm going to give that 2 to 6 months, and I'm going to compile everything, and I'm going to publish that to the blog probably. with all my statistics for the past 6 months and what you can learn from those statistics. I've also been having some various doing some recon because I'm in a new city, and one of the things I like to do is get a good lay of the land where I'm living. I think told Ryan about this, that I think I'm like a serial killer. So you don't want to have chicks too close to your house on the first dates. You want them close enough that it's easy to take them home, but not so close that you risk running into them at the grocery store if it ends badly. So setting that perimeter up around your house, which is like a no hit on girls zone, and then learning the lay of all the bars, all the cool clubs, all the cool places you can take them so you can get a good logistics situation back to your place. Takes a bit of time, but I'm starting to get that in under the belt, and I'm doing about 4 to 6 dates a week now. I'm trying to get 4 dates in on Sunday, so that's going to be an interesting day. I'm going to be running, and I also tested out some new opening material that I went over with Ryan. A lot of girls are starting to run within their bio. They have something like no one-night stands, or if you're just here for sex, swipe left. So I started opening them with, I'm not just here for sex, I also want you to laugh at my jokes and feed me.
I love it.
And that's actually getting quite a good response. I'm going to be running that through some more tests that I'm documenting as part of it. I'm also doing a test with super likes. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the feature, if you have Tinder Plus or Gold, you get 5 free super likes. That means it becomes really obvious to a girl that you want her attention. And the debate has been, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Do you get more matches from it and so on? So I've been using all my 5 super likes every day and keeping track of how many extra likes I'm getting from it. So that's going to be interesting when the month ends. And just as a closer here, Ryan is wearing his best Magnum PI shirt here. So
he's Jonathan's stash and sunglasses to complete the look, man.
So, that's the thing between John and Ryan and Rollo looking like he just walked out of a logging camp. This is queuing up to be a very interesting thing for them to comment on Purple Pill debate next week.
I was going to say, it's not we're not the Red Pill Avengers tonight. We're the Red Pill Village people today.
Yes. Oh, let's see. By the way, real quick before we get to Rollo's update here, had somebody in the chat who wants to know why Carl doesn't show his face. He actually revealed to us privately that he's KGB. That's why he doesn't show his face. Rollo, what's going on with you, man?
Yeah, secret. Chinese
Blow
secret.
through that.
Yeah, because he's a spy.
He's KGB. This way doesn't show his face.
Oh, what am I doing? Still working on this studio is what I'm doing. And as you notice, I'm still sitting here in the tropical forest. I've got some background and some other stuff that's coming in that, let me just say this. Don't order from like Alibaba Express or whatever Chinese cheap place that you can find cheap backgrounds and stuff for, because they will take forever to send you your things.
Did they send you that those palm trees?
Yeah, no, not these. These were here when I got here, but I've got a whole background thing that's coming in, but I was foolish enough to order it from like probably some drop shipper, to be honest with you. Anyways, what do I got going on this week? I am deep in the in book 4, as everybody already knows. I've got, I'd say, probably about a good quarter of it done right now. Still picking away at certain areas of it. I think it's gonna get really intense probably around summertime for me. So I got that going on. What did I do this week? I did a show with my good friend Marco Russo on middle-aged divorce guys. If you haven't checked my channel, I've got a new video up. It was just on the Rational Male show, and we talked about the particular challenges that a middle-aged guy faces when he gets divorced. And I did this, and I think I might do this as a regular thing, maybe a once a month kind of thing, because one of my I don't want to call it a pet project, but one of my concerns is guys getting zeroed out, particularly between the ages of, say, 45 and like 65, because that's a prime demographic for guys to kill themselves. And usually it's because they have lived this life invested in these blue pill ideals, and they believed in they married their one-itis. Their wives who just divorced them were their soulmates, and they pretty much built an entire life invested in the idea that they were going to spend the rest of their years. You know what, when women say, "Oh, if you're gonna be alone and die alone on a and you won't have anybody who loves you," that kind of shit. It's like that's their worst fear for these guys. And so eventually, when they get to the point where maybe they're in a position of gray divorce, which is like guys who get divorced when they're in their 50s. It's very daunting to put yourself back into the sexual marketplace. Now, for Marco, it was a little bit easier for him because he's in really good shape and he's red pill aware, and he had me helping him out. And he's decided that he wanted to write a blog about exactly what we're talking about, like guys who are middle-aged get zeroed out and have to put themselves back in. So usually these guys see two options. One of them is to rebuild themselves and recreate themselves at a later time in their lives, or else they just simply either live alone or they die. And so I wanted to do something at least to make an effort to help these guys, not kill themselves. So that was what that show was all about. And I didn't mean to be a downer about that, but that's just something that I think we really need to talk about, particularly in the Manosphere. I think it's kind of an underserved niche of the Manosphere. I have a lot of guys who are in that age range that hit me up. And then I've got guys who are like, 16, 18 years old. They go, "I want my girlfriend back." And it's all the same thing. It's all the same blue pill ideals that are crammed into these kids' heads that the older guys have too. So erasing the blue pill is my goal. Anyways, that's what I got going on right now. I should also add one more thing here, is that the time has finally come for Audible. Audible is now going to be instating their affiliate marketing plan for their authors.
Oh, wow.
So if you have books on Audible, like I do, if you just simply navigate to Audible and you search for Rollo Tomasi or you search for The Rational Male, you'll find my books. Hey, great. But if you start a new membership with them, usually your first book or your first 2 books is free. So guys will say, "Oh man, I want to get The Rational Male," so they'll get it for free, right? And then they'll start a subscription, and I think they lock you into 6 months or a year, I think, so that you're getting like one Audible book minimum per month, and it's just a subscription type thing, right? Well, your first book is usually free, and usually authors get what's called a bounty for that. And right now that bounty is about $75. It used to be 50, but they upped it to 75. But the problem now is that if you don't go through an affiliate link, then you don't get that bounty anymore. And it's basically and I don't want to talk shit about Amazon and Audible because they've been really good to me. But I think that this is a really shitty way to change up that program. They've got enough authors now that are locked into Amazon and Kindle and Audible to keep these guys hooked. That's where a lot of their revenue is coming from. Now, fortunately, I don't have to worry about that too much, but in the age of the Manosphere, in the age of the red pill, guys like me have to rely on self-publishing. And the only way that The Rational Male could have ever been published is by self-publishing, because there's no publishing house that would touch anything that we do. So I think long story short, if you're going to start an Audible account, or you're going to start an Audible subscription, please go to my website and look at the links in the sidebar. Those are my affiliate links. If you want to start a new subscription, hit those links, because that's the only way that I get a bounty for that. Essentially, what Audible is asking its authors to do is to compete against them, right? To compete against their own marketing.
Oh,
so if you're going to do that, please go to my site, look on the sidebar, and I have 3 different links for the 3 different books. If you want to start it with The Rational Male, click on that link, start your thing that way, because then I see the money for that. So anyways, that's what I got going.
Okay, excellent. Big thanks goes out to Marcus with the 20 euros. He's asked a question, but we're going to go to Ryan first with his updates. We're going to answer Marcus's question here shortly after we get the show started. Ryan, how's your week been, man?
Man, it's been a good week. So I'm starting to slow down the email lists. Instead of 6 days a week, I'm down to 3 now. I finally got the last 20. Well, the big thing was I wasn't blog posting a lot. My book is a little more slow going than I wanted to. And it's funny because as I mentioned my problems, I always see Rollo nodding. It's like, yeah, you're going to have that. Yeah, you're going to have that. But the way that Rollo's first Rational Male book was like the magnum opus of theory, if I do this right, it's going to be the magnum opus of application. Everything that a relationship guy needs to know from the start to the finish, filled with 5 years of about 20,000 guys' field reports on everything from getting the girl, keeping the girl, losing the girl, and how to survive and thrive, filled with field reports the entire way. It's an awesome read up, and it's awesome that I can get into stuff from way back in the day. One of the guys in my show just before this one was asking about Jack Ten of Hearts, so he's going to be in there too. If you guys don't know, he's probably one of like the hidden gems of the Manosphere. Same as when Rollo was talking about how the guys getting zeroed out after divorce are being kind of underserved. They're not being underserved. It's just you really have to know where to look for it. And the Married Red Pill was great for that. And on top of that, a bunch of guys have been asking. So my consulting service is going very well so far. I set up a 12-year plan with guys. We sort through their lives. We basically get their goals sorted out, hold them accountable to reach their goals, and make sure they're not, bullshitting themselves on the way. But the one thing that's picked up now is guys wanting one-off. So I've got a new service up now on my website, ryanstone.com, where it's just 1 hour at a time, and you can spend that on whatever you want to. There's not going to be any documentation that's coming with it or any of the stuff that I normally do, but it's just 1 hour chat time, whatever topic you want to have and however you want to sort it out. So it'll be pretty impressive to see if that one goes on. I'm surprised people are paying me money to run my mouth at them, but good on them for it. Next video just got out today on relationships, why you probably don't want to have one, and it's not your job anyway. The one thing now, which is nice, is like I said, I haven't been blogging enough. So I took the transcript of that. I fleshed it out into a full-blown blog. And then I'm going to add that one to the book as well. So everything that I do now is going to have hopefully a three-pronged attack where you'll get hearing about it in my email newsletter. You're going to hear about that on a blog post as well as you're going to be able to watch the video. So it's really nice to be able to triple up this work and hit the same topic with 3 different levels of resolution. So it's going to be nice. So for those who just want to sit down, have a beer, and then listen to 10 minutes of talking about a topic, you got that. For those who want to have a 20-minute lunch break and read about that one in your emails, you got that. And then for those who want to sit down, take a decent amount of time and read something on a long-form essay with a bit more detail, then you're going to have that. So the final thing I'll end off with is a tweet by a buddy of mine, Hi Civ, actually brought up a great point, and it's the first time I've ever heard a good critique of the red pill, and I'm so grateful for it. He suggested that he would love to hear more about the practical side and less about any small beef between slightly different variations of it. I'm not going to mention any names of who I think is a LARPer, but whatever. So I'm going to make an effort now to actually double down and bring more content in all my various channels. So keep up on that one. You're gonna love what's coming down the pipe.
Good, excellent. I'm going to keep it brief. I had a solid week here at TSR Towers. I talked about females who catch the baby rabies, how to recognize females with baby rabies, and the strategies they use to try to lock you down and trap you with a kid. Made fun of fatties for a little bit and discussed the lame reasons that women use to justify staying fat. I also talked about why you should never argue with females, and that was a great episode. But the episode that... All right, I got to close Blog Talk if my mic is popping off. Give me a second. I'm gonna have to restart my computer. Blog Talk is really... Anyway, so the episode that the episode of the week, more or less, came on Monday when I talked about how to recognize females who attempt to use you as an ATM machine, but she's not a gold digger. I call these females silver miners. Yeah, I just made that up. The long and the short about silver miners is that unlike gold diggers and sugar babies, they're almost never looking for long-term relationships, mainly because they don't have as much sexual market value. Gold diggers and sugar babies are the 9s and the 10s of the world, which is what we're going to be discussing today. These are the females that rich men, wealthy men, powerful men want to take exclusive ownership of. If you're worth 7, 8, 9, 10 figures, you don't want a 7 or an 8 for a wife. You want a 9 or a 10 or whatever you want to call her. But silver miners are the high 7s and the low 8s of the world who are only looking to get their bills paid by multiple men. But again, they're not looking for anything permanent or long-term. So if you want to learn more about those females, there's a shitload of them, running around here. Head on over to donovansharp.com. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started here. We are talking about the ratings scale. and we've already seen some discussion here in the chat. As far as females go, right? This is obviously a hot button topic here in the Manosphere. Now we've gotten quite a few questions to answer as we discussed off the air. But let's start with a basic question here. And Carl, I'd like to start with you on this one. Beauty is highly, highly subjective from man to man. But let's be honest, we all know a female who would get genuine sexual desire from 99.9% of men the world over. But then we've got guys who like to say, well, there's no such thing as 10. Or we get the she's not that hot guy. Now, to me, these are the guys who would lead us to believe that they are far more selective as far as their females, their taste, like they have a higher taste or a female connoisseur, in order to imply that they've got experience with hot girls, right? So the more hot girls you have slept with, the higher your standards are going to be. So my question to you, Carl, is why is female beauty always up for debate among men when we can all look at a woman and know in our minds, yeah, I'd bang her, and so would most men?
Well, what I think Ryan put me onto an interesting thinking during the pre-show, because most girls with IQ and stuff tend to cluster around the mean. So most girls are going to be between 4 and 6,
okay.
And up to about between, let's say, 3 and 7, most men can agree roughly on the value. It might be a point up, might be a point down, give or take. Then you have the outliers, because the 1s and to the 3s, no man is going to want to touch that for the most part, and most men will agree that those are not attractive women. Then you have the outliers to the top, your 8s, your 9s, and your 10s, and most guys are going to agree that they're attractive, but an 8 might be a 7 to one guy, a 9 to another. There's no objective value to it, and I think that's what we end up arguing about. And I think once you get up to over 7, that's where your subjective preference comes up. Like, I was talking to Rollo a little bit during the pre-show, and let's say, like, I prefer girls with a BMI between about 22 and 24, like right at around the upper end. And a guy who prefers girls who are around 18, 17, 18, along the lower end, is probably going to think that, okay, he's dating fat chicks. But to me, the other guys dating are too skinny. So that's just a subjective preference thing. And then you have things like hair color, disposition, personality that can all factor in a bit to it. Because when we're rating 1 to 10, we're not rating purely based on looks. We're rating partially based on looks and symmetry and so on. But we're also partially rating on preference. Like, okay, some guys might like Cardi B's big ass. Some guys might think it turns them gay to like Cardi B's big ass. And it's all about preference. Like, some guys have a thing for blondes. I know Rollo does. Mm-hmm. Other guys prefer other hair colors. Like, one example I used that for some black guys will give a girl an extra point or 2 on the S&P scale for being white. Some men will give a girl an extra point or 2 for being Asian. Some guys even relocate to Tokyo because they want to be surrounded by more Asian women. So you have a lot of different preferences that go into it. And it's like, I discussed it with Donovan when I did his show too, that, a 7 that is pleasant and is good and bad is probably worth more to you than a 9 who burns tea water and gives you starfish sex once a month.
Oh my God, yeah.
So you kind of have to look into the total package once you get into those upper echelons of valuation.
Listen, well said, Carl. And Rollo, Carl mentioned something that I hadn't thought of before, or that I thought about, but I didn't really think to address that. And that is the male criteria. See, a lot of people would think that when a man rates a woman, okay, 1 all the way through 10, it's based solely on the way she looks. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but Carl made some very interesting points. Some men like a different body type. Some men like big, like I'm a boob man. Some guys like huge asses. I'm not one of those guys. Some men like blonde. Some guys like redheads. What, how do you feel that different physical features, different markers, race plays a role as well? How do you feel, in your opinion, what are some of the most important markers of sexual attraction, just raw sexual desire on a primal level as far as men are concerned when they're making these rating scales?
From an evolutionary position, men are attracted to fertility and beauty, okay, or fertility and youth, I should say, and that is a beauty standard that is universal throughout the world. I mean, they've done a lot of, there's been a lot of studies and a lot of research done about what is the universal standards for beauty across cultures, and for the most part, it's a symmetrical face. It is what is it, the hips to waist ratio? There's like a golden ratio for that. I can't remember. It might be like 32%, like
Something like that. Yeah.
So like for men, it's like the V taper kind of thing. You know, for women, it's the hourglass look. There are universal constants for breeding acceptability is really what it is. When we see a woman for the first time, there's a part of in men's hindbrains where if we see a woman who's attractive, particularly if she's, you know, half naked or whatever, it triggers a part of our brain that is associated with tool use. And what that says to me is that men are trying to solve a reproductive problem, right? When we see something that needs to be fixed, we want to use a tool to fix that. Well, what's the reproductive problem? Well, it's, here she is, she looks good. Well, how am I going to solve my reproductive problem with this woman? Well, it's triggering that part of your brain that's associated with tool use. So when women complain about guys saying, "Oh, you guys are so sexually objective, you objectify us as sexual objects," yes, we do, because that's the way we evolved to do it. Because the guys who've done that over the millennia were successful. They successfully bred with those women and they solved that reproductive problem. So what is it about that woman that triggers that, though? I would say, like, within the first 30 seconds of a man checking out a girl, he can decide whether or not she has breeding viability or she doesn't have breeding viability. And women love to say, well, that's dehumanizing. And it's like, no, that's actually quite humanizing, because that's exactly how we think.
That's
and women, that's how we make other humans. And that's exactly what women do as well. It's just, it's impolite for men to talk about it, but it's entirely acceptable for women to talk about it, because women are would like to believe that they are the primary sexual selectors of the human race. And that is true when they are in their sexual market value prime years. When men get into into their prime years, that's when they become the sexual selectors. And I really don't like this saying, but I'll throw it out there anyways, is people always say, well, women are the gatekeepers of sex and men are the gatekeepers of commitment, right? Of long-term commitment or resources, right? Well, that used to be the case. Now it's not quite the case that it used to be, but on a basic primal level, that's kind of what our hindbrains still think, even if the case isn't even that's not really the case. What I think is interesting, though, but once you get past those basics, once you get past the hourglass, once you get past the facial symmetry, once you get past the large boobs, that's when things kind of get really subjective, and that subjectivity comes as a part of what you are acculturated to see as beautiful, right? In China, it used to be girls with little teeny tiny feet, to the point where they were going to crush their feet into these little teeny tiny shoes, right? Or in Africa, it was women with really long necks, so they wanted to, like, accentuate the neck because that was a big deal, right? Well, she still had to be, acceptable as a woman, but then there's that cultural acceptability, or there's that racial acceptability as well. I think that when guys, like right now, I had about two essays ago, I had an essay called The Global Sexual Marketplace. And I think what's happening right now is, as we become a more globalized society, we're mixing all of these things together, right? If you go and you look on Pornhub, there's a million different sexual fetishes and a million different sexual niches. So if you want to see a redhead and a midget together, you can probably find that porn. It's like the rule number 54. Like, if you can imagine it, there's probably pornography for it.
Oh wow, yeah, porn.
Yeah, why is it that this is a thing right now? Well, it's because we're mixing all of these preferences and all of this together. And so you got brothers over here who are into what they're into, and you got guys like white guys over here who are into blondes and big tits, and you got guys over here who are into like skinny, pale white chicks. And it's just, if you want a chick who's got fuchsia hair, you can find it. If you want to find a girl who's bald, you can find it, right? And that's where I kind of draw the line with women, because women love to throw this out there. They love to say, well, men's beauty standards are like impossible. That's why they shouldn't watch porn. It gives them an unrealistic idea of what a woman is all about. And it's like, you are so full of shit, because there are so many guys that have so many different preferences right now that completely erases any of this. Oh, well, men have this really high standard, or have this really locked in static standard. And I've told women this, as I've said, you know what? It is women who have the higher, more static standard of idealized male beauty than men ever will. Because if you go and you look at classic like architecture, if you look, or like Greek sculpture, for example, that athletic build for that guy doesn't change. There was no Rubenesque period for men. There's like, oh, well, big fat men are gorgeous. I really want to get with them. There was never any kind of social change that made ideal men's beauty anything different than the, athletic build, a little bit cut, muscular definition, V taper, masculinized jaw, straight off jaw, all the things that cue sexual viability to women. That doesn't change, but for men it does. And the reason is because men and women have different sexual strategies. Women are looking for that quality above everything else. They're looking for like I said, hypergamy doesn't seek its own level. It's always seeking the
well, let me interrupt you. This dovetails very seamlessly into Marcus's question. He donated 20 British pounds. The question is, Rollo, hypergamy rarely seeks its own level and most times wants a man higher. Mm-hmm. How does this account for the high percentage of women who sleep with low quality men who technically are lower in level? Is this only a sexual market value / sexual marketplace phenomenon? Very good question.
Okay. The reason for that is because that when we're talking about once again, hypergamy is not a straitjacket. Okay.
Right.
Now, guys love to throw this out there. And they like to say, well, I'll never be that ideal. She's going to cheat on me with the first guy that comes along who's better looking than me. Oh, boo-hoo. Well, you have to understand, women can only capitalize on their hypergamy as far as they are able to get with that guy, or to get with the guy that is their ideal, right? Royce had a really great post, and I link to this all the time, and it's I think the title of it was "Women's Standards Crumble in the Face of Their Priorities," right? So if a woman is between the ages of 29 and 31 years old, she's going to accept something different because her priorities, her hypergamous priorities, have shifted at that point. So maybe she can't get, like we talk about this all the time, when women are in their epiphany phase, they can't get with the bad boys like they used to, or they can't get those bad boys to commit. And so they need to, like, remember, hypergamy has two different sides, alpha fucks and beta bucks. So when a woman can no longer get the alpha guys as easily as she used to because her sexual market value is decaying, her priorities are going to shift. So maybe the looks of a guy is going to take the second place as to what that guy can provide resource wise. And this is where women, of course, get themselves into trouble, because they end up marrying these beta guys who are boring, and maybe they're not in as good a shape as the guys that they used to get with back in their prime years, back in their party years. And so they make the mistake of settling for a guy who is a beta. And then later on, between 4 and 7 years later, they reassess that, and they go, that's when the alpha widow comes out. They go, man, I had so much more fun when I was in my college years. I'm not 40 yet. If I divorce this guy right now, I might still be able to get that alpha that I used to get back in the day, right? And that's where you have divorces, and that's one of the reasons why the marriage is so fucked up right now. But to answer the guy's question, yes, hypergamy doesn't seek its own level, but remember, hypergamy has different priorities depending on what the necessity of that woman is at that particular time. Would she like to get a guy who has high resources and is high in sexual value? Yeah, of course she would love to do that. But depending on what her necessity is at that time, she might reprioritize that. That's why when women are younger, when they're between 18 and say like 24 years old, it's all about the body. It's all about the guy, the way the guy looks. It's much, much less about what that guy can provide, because she's not necessitous at that point. She's having shit just given to her, right? Look at any Instagram model right now who's trying to sell you nudes, Carl. If you go and you look at that, why are they able to do that? Well, because they're primarily focused on looks at that point. Because and what's their incentive? What's their incentive to be in any other way? They're getting resources from guys, sure, but they're enjoying their peak sexual market value years because men are throwing money at them. Either whether that's figuratively or realistically, they're having that money thrown at them. So why would they think about getting with a guy who is, older and who's a better long-term provider at that time? But when she gets to be 29 to 31 and her sexual market value is decaying and she can't get the attention that she used to when she was 23, that's when those priorities shift. So that's, we want to know why a hot girl might go with a guy that you would think is, there's something a little weird about this guy. Or we see that as a natural imbalance. Like you see a fat guy with a really hot chick, that's how to spot a rich guy, right? The guy's fat and the girl's like really hot, right? So we think he's either hot or he's famous or something is offsetting that. Well, that offsetting comes by what her necessity really is.
Shout out to Paul Pohl with the $200 Japanese yen contribution, which comes to $1.82 US. Redman Anon, Ibo, Daniel Knightfield, shout out to you guys, $9.99, 20 euros, and $5 respectively. We will come to your questions. We're going to come to Ryan with Redman Anon's question. He asks, if men become sexual selectors down the line, how come the dude who got divorced on your show last time, who was in good shape, had his shit together, you don't have to censor yourself, by the way. You can swear in the chat. It's fine. Has a shit together, was just sticking to women in their 40s and older?
I respect this question, but I don't like it. And it goes for the last question, too. All right, guys, I'm going to talk some science. Get your science coats on. Let's do this.
Get your beakers ready.
Here's the thing. Carl and I were just talking about this,
coat.
and he actually brought up a great angle that I never even considered. We don't have people walking around naked with their medical diagnosis stapled to their chest. So we don't, like all this evolutionary stuff we're looking for, we have no way of knowing it. So we always look at secondary traits. That's why chicks always say, you know what I love on man? A good set of forearms. You know why? Because you can see his forearms, you can't see his abs. Same as guys when they say, I like a nice smile, I like nice hair, because you can see those. You can't see if she's got like a horrible set underneath that t-shirt or if it's covered with a Wonder Bra. Now, the problem with these secondary traits is they're easily fudgeable.
Oh, yes.
And I'll use cars as a great example. Guy buys a fancy car. Oh, he's got to be rich, which means he has to have status. That's a secondary signal. The problem is a bunch of guys bought up souped up Supras. If you guys remember this in the 90s,
yes,
with neon lights underneath. Wow, this guy's got a great car too. He must also be this and that. In reality, he was a college kid who just spent all of his college loan on his car's underlights, which I don't think they have anymore. So I'm kind of dating myself, but whatever. Here's the reason why. How come you guys can say that science says this, but then this guy I've heard of somewhere through a friend of a friend of a friend of mine had something happen exactly the opposite of that? It's because secondary traits are fungible. We don't know, and they're very easy to funge. Same as telling a girl you love her when you really don't love her, you just want to get in her pants. All these traits are fakeable, and women aren't master manipulating. Like everybody makes them out to be Dr. Claw and we're Inspector Gadget. Like it's not the case. They're the same level of bumbling goofs that we are. The only difference is they get a nice cushion when they fail because they're chicks, and good for them. I'd rather learn from my mistakes and not be sheltered from them, but whatever. So to answer your question directly, well, how come men blah, blah, blah and a woman 40 and older? It's because people are only getting half the story and they're easily lied to because we're ego invested. And that's the perfect part with this last bit where I was saying to Carl how girls are only 4s, 5s, and 6s. Anything above a 6 is your ego investment. As a guy, and this is why, I like fat girls. I like skinny girls. I like big boobs. It's because when you were a kid, or in your formative sexual years, maybe in your 20s, 30s, God hopes 40s, you got something. If you got nerd girls in high school, then all of a sudden nerd girls are 8s and 9s and 10s. If you got goth girls are 8s, 9s, and 10s. All an 8, a 9, or a 10 is your ego investment. And your ego loves to tell you, you know what? You've already got this stuff. And it's the same as like alpha. Oh, you're alpha because all these things you do are alpha. Why? Oh, just trust me. It's all alpha. It's the same as the girl. Well, you used to get a ton of fat girls. So fat girls are the hottest. Really? Yeah. Just shut up and go with it.
Preferences.
Well, fat girls are 10s now.
Fetishes. Yep.
Yeah. And those are just fetishes. And that's just because as a sexual strategy, all those like perfect hip waist ratio, all that stuff is great. But if you can only get like the sexual degenerates, then that's your best sexual strategy. Of course, your mind's going to cater to that. So for all these questions where you guys take Rolo's, well, how did you say this with this reference from Evo Psych, but somebody I know did this other thing? Just realize we're talking about imperfect people dealing with secondary selectors and their own ego investments. And that should answer all these questions. But do keep the super chats coming in. So I don't want to discourage that.
Listen, a male desire is not a straitjacket either, right? Just like hypergamy is not a straitjacket for women. Also, before I come
to a dry spell, you go after a fat girl to get back in the game. Do what you got to do. I don't mind.
Like that's how it works. I'll also say this: a guy who quote unquote lost his virginity. And by the way, men don't lose their virginity. We have sex for the first time. We don't get our cherry popped. So there's no such thing as a male virgin. Only a male who hasn't had sex yet. But if a teenage kid has sex with a fat girl for the very first time, conventional wisdom states that he will go after fat girls, or fat girls will be 8s, 9s, and 10s. Au contraire, right? I guess in the language of French Canadian. If a man who says, well, I like fat girls. No, you don't. You like them because your sexual market value is low, and that's all you can get, number one. Number two, if I put a fat girl and a fit girl in front of you, which one are you going to bang? The fatty or the fitty? Yeah, I thought so. Jonathan, I've got an excellent question for you. And again, Ibo, Daniel Knightfield, YOLO, we're going to get to your super chat questions here. We want to make sure we keep the flow of the show real nice. I don't want to jump around to topics, but I also want to go in order. I don't want YOLO to go first because Ibo is first. I'll try to do that as best I can. Jonathan, something that often gets brought up, and it has a lot to do with what Ryan just said, or Ryan just answered the last super chat question. Oh, the guy has high sexual market value, but only goes for women in their 40s. Well, women in their 40s, according to Rollo, aren't, and not to say that women in their 40s can't be bangable, but there's a difference between beauty and being hot. Just because you're hot does not mean that you are beautiful. There is a big difference in my mind between a woman who is hot and a woman who is beautiful. In your experience, because listen, there are a lot of hot 40, 41-year-olds out there, right? Doesn't mean that she's an 8 or a 9 or a 10, but she's still hot enough for you to really want to bang her. In your opinion, living in Tokyo where the beauty standard is very, very high, what to you is the difference between a girl who is just naturally beautiful and a girl who's hot you just want to bang?
Well, like hot girls, typically hotness fades away. Beauty is like a combination, in my opinion.
You already nailed it, man.
Beauty in my combination is like physical attractiveness and like, a delightful character. Like for me, my days here, like anywhere I go in the world, really, for me, just a girl who is obedient and submissive and feminine, that for me is a 10. That's like, as long as she like meets the minimum looks right criteria. But if she's obedient and she's fucking feminine and like doesn't give me a headache, because as a businessman, as a guy who's running his own business and hustling in Tokyo, the last thing I need is some fucking bitch jawing at me all day, blah, 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 blah. When I'm out there,
you used to have that though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did in 2015. I left that bitch in the garbage where she belongs. Yeah. So, no, but yeah, that's what I say.
That's how you learned. It's the point. Yeah.
But people like to do that, right? Donovan, who hurt you? Several women, actually. You don't learn the stove is hot unless you put your hand on the stove. Come on.
Yeah, but just to wrap up on my point, at the end of the day, it sounds so cliche, but hotness fades and it's very surface level. Like all these Instagram models and all this shit we're seeing right now, I can't wait until the Instagram bubble pops because these bitches are going to be on the street and it is fucking hilarious. But a lot of these girls, they're I call them fast food women. They look good. They smell good. They taste good. But once you digest them, you're like, God damn, this shit is bad for me. This is cancer
hungry
in my
again
body.
In 20 minutes.
And But like girls who are like, beautiful, girls who are like good quality women, they're like a good home cooked meal that hits all your macronutrients, that's weighed out, and it's like really just perfect for you.
Jonathan, dude, that is the best answer I have ever heard in terms of the difference between beauty and hotness. I could not have answered that better myself. We got a super chat question here earlier from Ibo, 20 euros. I'm going to bring this one to you, Carl. He says, in my experience, women only mate with lower sexual market value men for STRs or LTRs. I don't know what STRs means. I don't know. And we'll replace those men. Also, freshly separated women are easy. Yes, they are. They are easy targets, even for low SMV men. Birth control and no shaming means no risk nowadays. Am I right? What do you think about that?
Well, there's still a risk, but I think what you want to get in STR, I think, means short-term relationships.
Oh,
right. Guy, you're a guy that she uses to bridge two other guys.
Okay.
So, but what I think that comes down to is that women, you have a lot of guys who are not comfortable outside a relationship, and you have the same with women. They need men for various reasons. Usually, they either want a guy because he gives them something, or he gives them something. Either he gives them dick or he gives them resources, more or less. But what it comes down to is, yeah, they will mate with lower SMV men for a short term because they need something, and then they'll branch swing to a higher value guy. That's the basic law of hypergamy, more or less. So, and no risk, well, birth control, well, I don't trust girls to be, like, if a girl tells you I'm on the pill or I have an IUD, you can raw dog me, don't.
Hell no. Yeah, look, very good answer there. Anytime a woman proactively tells you that she's on birth control, that raw dogging her is a very bad idea.
If you bottom out your dick, sometimes you can hit the IUD. I don't know if you guys hit that before. It's kind of sucks.
Bottom out.
Well, one of the things I wanted to comment on that is, think about your average 18 to 28-year-old girl. That's the range I date in. So, in order for birth control pills to be effective, you have to take them at roughly the same time every single day. How many girls do you know who you would trust to take a pill at approximately the same time every day, 365 days a year? I don't know a single one. I mean, one of my plates lost her keys and her cell phone last week on the bus. Like, I don't trust these girls to. If you wouldn't trust her with a grocery list, don't trust her with birth control.
Well said. Well said. Big thanks goes out to Daniel Knightfield with the $5 super chat. Ryan, I want you to answer this question. He wants to know, is it possible, like our grandparents, to build a future together with a high SMV woman today, even though the man is yet to reach his peak? That's a very good question.
Oh, the guy wants a ride or die bitch. Congratulations, man. Dude, I haven't drank on the cast in so long. This actually feels really good. I got a buzz going on. All right, so you want a ride or die bitch. What can I suggest? I got one right now, so I can't say it's impossible, but you all can't be me. I can barely be me. Here's the thing. Yeah, I know we always talk about girls shoot for these things, but a lot of times it's not so much that a girl has her man that has everything together, but she can see potential. Okay. So if you look like a guy who could do these things, and this is those secondary selectors. Oh, he's going places. He's got a mission. He's doing it. He doesn't put up with my crap. He doesn't and she will test you. She will test you by asking for more of your time than's warranted. And she wants to fail that test. So you take this and make it an overarching thing. Basically, is your ability to be that potential I see in you overcoming my ability to leech your time off of you? And I don't think you can answer that question. I think you just have to live it. So what I would suggest for you suggesting you want a ride or die bitch is you need to stop looking for a ride or die bitch. A ride or die bitch is a girl who's like desperately clinging onto something she can't have. And it's perfect timing because I just posted this on my last video and my last blog post and my last Reddit post. You can't be looking for a girlfriend in general, and especially not that. You have to be going out and you have to be doing what you do as good as you can to the extent that you can do it, and be very attractive when you do it. And what's going to happen is girls are going to be attracted to that because most people in their life are very boring. The fact that you're more important than the thing she's fingering on her phone is going to be awesome. And she's going to try and lock you down. And you have to be somewhat aloof, like 1 foot out the door at all times. And at some point, you're going to find a girl that, and out of like, I'd say I usually put it at a 30-to-1 ratio, the amount of girls that are completely not worth your time and ones that may be worth your time. You'll get to the point that you've seen every red flag you've been looking for, and you've learned about it the hard way. And you're going to find one girl that for like a year of just dating casually has never given you a red flag, and it's going to blow your mind. You're like, what the fuck is this? That is your potential ride or die bitch. I'm telling you right there. But you can't go looking for her. And it's not the same advice as, Joel, just wait and the right girl will show up. No, you can't just wait and hope she'll show up. You basically have to assume she's not there and carry on your life as if you're the last man on earth.
Right.
And if some girl manages to break through all the crap you put in her way, then that might be what you're looking for.
Listen, go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's the end of it. The rest was just be some feel good bullshit. Whatever.
I'm going to come to Rolo in a second. What you just described was half of Devin, right? Devin she is a ride or die bitch. But here's the difference in what you just said. Devin had scores of red flags, right? Like most women do. But despite all of the red flags and despite putting her through her paces, she was willing to sort of try to mitigate and eliminate those red flags while jumping those hurdles.
Oh, so she started acting right once you showed up.
Oh, you better believe it. She told me.
You sound like my sister's fiance right now. That's hilarious. The nice little white boy who finally told her no for once.
Right. This is interesting. Oh, this is really going to blow your mind. I'm coming to you in just a second. There is a certain female who I am not fond of, who may or may not be related to, maybe a feline, if you guys know what I mean. She's actually friends with Devin on Twitter. And when Devin told her, hey, I'm kind of seeing a guy and he's, he doesn't want me to be on social media, so I'm this and that and the other. So you know what this cat lady said? She said, she all the typical things. Oh, that's a red flag. He's controlling, possessive, blah, 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 blah. And Devin told her, you know what? That's kind of what I need right now. Sayonara. And that was
Why didn't you say this? This makes so much sense over all the crap that some certain feline hypothetical person has been doing for the last year. Totally makes sense now.
This is why I had inside information on this person. And this is why guys like Jose Alonso, I don't even know if he's still fucking with Rolo on Twitter. This is why I know when he makes assertions about this cat lady, right? This is why I've known about this chick for years. I know who and what she really is. So
small world, man, small world.
When Devin showed me screen grabs, oh my God, he's this and that and the other. She's like, you know what? That's kind of what I need. Shout out to YOLO with the 55 Norwegian krones or crons, which equates to $6.46, which equals, I don't know, maybe 117 Scooby snacks. He says, Rolo, why do men and women experience attention differently? And what's the difference? Thank you for your life-saving work. Excellent question. Man, you guys are coming strong with the questions today.
So why do they experience attention differently? Well, for women, it's because attention is the coin of the realm. Okay. So the hotter a chick is, the more attention she's going to generate. Attention also not all attention is created equal. Okay. So if a guy who is, your beta orbiter, his attention is cheap. It's easily had. And if you've got a guy who is a prince, right, and he's giving you his time and you're worthy of his attention, then that, establishes you as a woman higher in that pecking order. Okay. So like when we talk about men's dominance hierarchies, for women, it's an attention hierarchy. That's how they establish a pecking order within their own like kind of social groups and stuff. For men, that attention might be social proof. It's whatever. See, for men, attention is almost, I would say that it's a little bit, well, it's definitely different when it comes to like meriting it as opposed to just having it given to you. Like we were talking about how men have to become and women just are, right? So when you are and you happen to be hot, or maybe you have maybe you hit the genetic lottery and women will give you attention, or women and men will give you attention as a woman. That is not something that you had to necessarily earn. It's just like who you are. Women want to just think that that's just, they're just naturally that way. Well, the problem is that when that attention starts to slide, that's when women get desperate, or that's when they start looking for rationale. So when we talk about like the women's hamster, the rationalization hamster,
Right.
that's when that comes into play right there. For men, it's attention is usually merited. Like for instance, if you have a hot car, the first thing guys are going to say is you rented that car, right? If you're driving around in a Lamborghini, the first thing people are going to point at you and say, you rented that, you know, because
But you did rent it.
yeah, but we did rent it. Yeah, they're 100% right. But why are they? And they're 100% right. But why are they saying? Why is that the first thing out of their mouths? Because for men, respect has to be earned. It has to be. They have to know who you are, and they have to know that you're the reason that you have social proof, the reason that you can draw attention as a man, is something that you earned. Right? It's something that you merited. So
that is so true. That like if you just look at Twitch, okay, like so I have a Twitch channel, right? Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv, and I have to be like super entertaining, engaging the chat, like playing interesting video games, have like crazy good animations. Girls, they just got to show up, show a little cleavage.
So I gotta be there, dude.
Monetize, baby. Monetize. Growing my Instagram following, grinding away, posting meme after fucking meme, the hottest memes I can find on the internet deep diving. Some girl post some picture, like the girl's a 6. Post picture, her room is trashed, her body meh, but she's got her tits out a little bit, and writes some fucking Bible quote like, "Oh, the Lord is with me," blah blah blah. 100,000 followers. Like, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, as a man, like you really have to fucking work your ass off. You have to be like, I really made it here. That's why I really like when a girl tells me like I've got like 70,000 subscribers on Instagram. Like, you got no talent. Like, it's just,
dude, that's like dog years to human years, where it's like a 7-to-1 ratio.
It's like you just the army of thirsty dudes. Like, if you monetize it and you financially extort these guys, then I'm like, okay, like you're kind of a pimp, girl. But if you're just getting this attention just for being a chick, like honestly, it's like I see no merit in it. There is no real skill. It's like built in. Like there's nothing talented about that compared to a guy who like say a guy who starts a YouTube channel. He has to like make it funny. He has to write a script. He has to like film, re-edit, like do it all perfectly, or like his audience will eat him alive. That's just right there. Like, girls, the merit, it's really built in, and it deteriorates over time, versus a man, like he's born pretty much a loser, and then like he has to build into something.
Gentlemen, you are listening to the 59th episode of the Redman Group. If you want to support the RMG, become a patron at patreon.com/Redman Group. You can also get exclusive access to private Q&A sessions for around 30 cents a day. We are also sponsored by Tactical Soap, which will instantly shrink your body fat percentage by 75% while simultaneously increasing your muscle mass by 214%. So basically, you'll look like a cross between Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler. And no, I'm not talking about the quarterback, who always looks like his parents told him to go upstairs to do his homework without supper. Guys, the 21 Convention Patriarch Edition is in less than 6 weeks. It's going to be from May 3rd to May 5th. It will be the first of 3 events this year. Tickets are available right now at the21convention.org. You can also get on the VIP list for the 21 Convention this summer, which will be held in Poland. Getting on the VIP list puts you first in line for the early bird tickets, meaning that you get a substantial discount if you buy early. We're going to open the phone lines here in a little bit. Let's get to the next question here. And I want to start off with Rollo on this one, because this was the second of the questions that we wanted to address. Why is it acceptable for women, because you mentioned this earlier, why is it acceptable for women to rate a man's looks, but it is dehumanizing for a man to rate a woman?
I talked about that a little bit earlier. It's because women want to maintain their status as the prime sexual selectors in society. They want to be the ones who control hypergamy for themselves. I wrote about, the last 2 posts I've written were a series. The first one was the existential fear for women, and then the existential fear for men was this week's. The existential fear for women is that they would ever be tricked into thinking that a guy is one way, and then having that kid's children, and then being locked into a lifetime of raising an unworthy man's child. Okay, that is the existential fear of women, is that they would at any time be out of control of hypergamy. That a man would. That's why rape is such a huge deal to women, because what it is it's men forcefully taking over a woman's sexual selective process. women will say, well, that's an act of violence. Yes, it can be an act of violence, but what it from a purely practical, pragmatic perspective, it is women worrying about having to bear the child of a man that they did not choose. And so what happens is, one of the reasons why, as soon as we got out of the sexual revolution and we got into where we are today, as far as the intersexual dynamics are concerned, if you look at when we afford women power, the only thing that they use that power for is to ensure that they have sexual selection, and that if they make a bad decision for hypergamy, that they are not held accountable for that. And so that's why when women, when a man says, oh, she's an 8 or she's a 9 or something like that, or we rate them, what that means is we're qualifying them. We're saying that a guy should get with that girl and shouldn't get with that girl. And when you do that, you pull some element of their sexual selective capacity away from that woman. So it's like saying you're taking over part of her hypergamy. You're saying that girl's worth, that girl's a ride or die chick, right? That girl's worth spending the rest of your life with, and that girl's not, because she's not as hot as the other one there. And so they think that it's dehumanizing, but really what it's doing is it's taking away that sexual selectivity and putting it into the hands of men. And so when that's one of the reasons why the red pill is so threatening to women, is because it's telling guys, it's waking guys up to the game that they're part of. The most dangerous book that I've written is not the first book, it's the second book. It's the one with the timeline in it that men can figure out what it is that a woman is going through at that particular phase of her maturity. Because what it does is it prepares that guy to be a prime sexual selector. So it's like, when I tell guys, I say your prime sexual market years, or your peak sexual market value is going to be between the ages of, say, like 34 and 38, somewhere around there. But if I go and I say, here's the timeline and here's what you can expect, that at least prepares you for that, and it removes you from that game. It removes you from being ignorant of what I just said, that women want to keep you stupid. They want you to get to a point where they have maximized, or they have maximized their sexual market value peak years, and then you're going to be there waiting, like the Sandbergian plan for hypergamy. But if I go and I inform them of that, and I make them into sexual selectors before that, that makes me dangerous. So that's the long way of saying it. But what you're doing is you're taking that sexual selectivity away from them by qualifying, this one girl is worth it, this one girl is not. And I'll tell you the other thing is, women are going to have a real problem with me saying this. Women do this worse than guys.
Of course.
Women, we talk about, oh, you're slut shaming. It's men do not slut shame. We don't dare slut shame, particularly in the era of Me Too. We don't dare say anything like that. You know who slut shames the most? It's other women. Because their intra-sexual combat, when they're fighting each other for dominance in the sexual marketplace, what do? They disqualify the other one. They say, ooh, she's a slut. Only a slut would wear that, right? Or only a slut would do what she's doing, right? Well, they're doing the same thing, but they'll go and draw attention to that, because what are they doing? They're saying, you shouldn't select her, you should select me. And that's taking that sexual selectivity. Now it's not a man taking it away. It's another woman taking it away from another woman by disqualifying her. Guys do this kind of too with other guys. Because when you see a hot guy, what's the first thing you say? You go, oh, he must be gay. Right. So oh, he must be gay. You see that he is like, he's a 10, right? And any chick would love to see him, without a shirt in a hot fireman's calendar or something like that. But we see that, and what's the first thing we think? Oh, well, only guys that look like that are gay, right? So what are we doing? We're disqualifying them from the sexual marketplace and putting ourselves in that. So that's the difference between all that.
And I'll just say too, man, I used to be a barback in a nightclub for 4 years. And basically a barback's a slave. Like, if anything fucking terrible goes wrong at a club, you got to deal with it. So I used to have to clean up a lot of vomit in the girls' bathrooms of the nightclub. And let me tell you something, these bitches are vicious. Like, if you want to talk about non-PC, the shit I heard, that was a hard red pilling for me from age 20 to 24, like working in that. Like, go in the dude's bathroom. Most dudes are like, they're taking a piss. They're trying to buy some mints from the Haitian guy who's hanging out the towels. This is in Florida. And then you go in the girls' bathroom. First of all, they're fucking animals. They're disgusting. And second of all, like, the amount of shit talking they say about guys like, I'm not gonna go with this guy. He's a fucking loser, or he probably has a small dick, or they say, you know, he's the F word. Like, I don't want to get demonetized, but like they drop the homosexual discriminatory word, the F word. Like, oh, he's the F word, like all this shit. So you think these bitches are fucking angels shining in the sky, but man, that's why honestly it's like this is counter like red pill intuitive stuff. But I always tell guys, yo, check her phone, check her emails, get that data, see how she really is. And that'll be the quickest and reddest pill you'll ever take. Some dudes want to be like, oh, you're not a man if you go through her phone, or you're not a man if you go through emails. Let me tell you something. Fuck that. If you're trying to get the raw, hard truth about women and female nature, because let me tell you something too. You give that bitch the opportunity, she's snooping through your shit. She's going through your closet when you're not there. She's going through your phone. She's checking your emails. She's checking your Facebook. All girls done it. I've banged my ass around the fucking world, and all girls, Japanese girls, white girls, fucking Colombian girls, Spanish girls, they all go through my phone
selections, everything.
They're going through everything. These girls Google you before they go out with you. That's some gorilla pimp shit right there, man. These girls Google you. They pull all your social media before they go out with you. Like, so to think they're like, oh, like, you know, these girls, like, they don't judge us, we just judge them. These girls are way more ruthless, because at the end of the day, they're just survivalists. But women can't survive without men. That's just the bottom fucking line. Okay, the only reason these women have a pseudo idea of power in the United States is because of legislation. If divorce laws were changed right now, if divorce laws would change right now, let me tell you something. How many fucking support groups will pop up with all these bitches? Because every woman is a fucking qualified paralegal. They know the fucking laws. They know how to extort you. I used to bang a fucking chick that was married, and she would tell me, she's like, well, I'm married in Florida, and I've been married to him for 10 years. So the next 5 years, I get full alimony plus child support for 2 of our kids. So I'm set. Even if he catches me cheating, he has to pay for my lawyer. He has to pay for the house, everything. I was like, God damn, you are fucking evil bitch. And that is like, that's what one of the things that really red pilled me.
Real quick, before I bring it back around, if you really want to know what women are about, if you don't have access to all this stuff, just go to 2X chromosomes. That'll red pill you quicker than anything. The Reddit for the 2X chromosome. To bring it back around here, Ryan, here's the next question we want to ask. What is the connection between sexual market value and healthy versus an unhealthy attachment in men and women?
What the hell?
Well,
that's a weird. Yeah, no, it's a weird question. It's like, why are hot dogs and burgers different? It's gonna be, and I hate this because it's not answering the question that was asked, but it's answering the question I wish was asked.
Okay.
They're taking guys, and we're horrible for this. We take all these like things and we try to make it into this nice complicated puzzle because we love puzzles. It's like the X-Files. What did the government do? You're inside your own head way too much. The sexual marketplace, you keep it as simple as you need to and don't make it any more complex than that. Experience sorts out a lot of those little edge cases that you're going to have thousands of hours discussing whether Jung or Nietzsche decided one thing or the other. So when you're talking about the SMP, just realize that girls want better than what they are. If that answers it. And then what was the second part of it, Donnie?
Oh wow, hang on. I gotta control Z. Oh yeah, what's the connection between sexual market value and a healthy or an unhealthy attachment in men and women?
Yeah, attachment is your ego. Like, don't even put the two together. Sexual marketplace, girls want more, or girls want better, guys want more. As long as you keep that general principle in your head, put it in the back, and then as things happen, you kind of put, well, what is better and what is more? And then you can apply it as it need to on your situations.
I think this is why when females get cheated on, oh my God, what's wrong with me? A lot of times there's nothing. And when a man cheats on a woman, it's rarely because he doesn't still love his wife or girlfriend. Sometimes it's not about better. Sometimes it's about different. Sometimes it is.
It's just business. It's just
most
business.
Of these, and here, regardless of that, you can do what you want with that information. Maybe cheating for a girl is completely reprehensible. She could love you to death, but she'll leave you. Maybe she'll end up going into a soft harem scenario. It doesn't really matter. The problem I have with these is guys are thinking so much about the girl that they're thinking absolutely nothing about themselves. Like, you're worried so much. Well, what does a girl think about this? What does a girl think between the sexual marketplace and if hypergamy and solipsism are together, but only on a full, like, dude,
Yeah, that's you're dude, you're out
The
thinking.
whole point of learning this stuff is to forget about it as quickly as you possibly can. Rolo is the only guy in the Manosphere that gets to talk about women because he's talking the theory and he's not applying it. You're supposed to take it. You're supposed to completely ignore the woman's frame and talk about you and what you want, realizing that when she does things, you're like, oh yeah, Rolo mentioned this. That's as far in, and no offense, Rolo, if you want people to look more into it, like cut me off here, but that's as far as you should be looking into Rolo stuff. You should not be looking at it as this is how I can put girl A into slot B with hypergamy F. And I hate to say this because I really like guys who get deep diving in and read on a lot of this stuff, but at some point you have to get out of your head. So yeah, the connection between SMP, SMV, and connection and stuff like that, don't worry about that. Boundaries, you focus on what you want, focus on removing what you don't want, and killing your ego at every point will solve all of these ridiculous questions. Keep those super chats coming, by the way, and I'm done.
Absolutely. Marcus, again, with 20 British pounds, Redman Anon with the $10 super chat. Bobby, $111, $4.99. We're going to get to you guys' questions a little bit later. We want to stay on topic here, at least for the time being. Yeah, Carl, I'm going to go to Jonathan, then we're going to go to Carl here. Jonathan, let me ask you a question. I think this is right up your alley. Is the 1 to 10 scale, the rating scale, totally subjective to the guy doing the rating, or are they objective constraints in rating?
No, it's 100% subjective both ways. Okay.
Right.
I always say this, like sex is sales and sex is marketing. So, some, like, just say Donovan and I, okay? Some girls will look at Donovan and be like, God damn, that guy is the hottest dude I've ever seen in my entire life. I'll let that guy raw dog me in the alley right now. And they'll look at me and they'll be like, God, that guy, his pink jacket is fucking insufferably ugly. I want to kill myself just looking at him. And the same exact thing the other way around. Some girls will look at me and be like, oh my God, that guy's pink jacket is amazing. He's the hottest dude to walk this earth. And then they'll look at Don and be like, God, I hate that guy. He's gross, whatever. That it's 100% subjective. Of course, there are universal things like, nobody really likes a 300-pound bitch. Okay. Nobody really likes a girl whose skin is covered in acne. There are some universal standards, but at the end of the day, yeah, me and my boys would go out and he would like some girl and he'd be like, oh my God, that girl, is XYZ. And she's an 8, she's a 9. And for me, and some guys are just pathetic. And like the average girl would just be like a 10 to them. And I'm like, oh, that bitch is a hard 6. But yeah, 100%. It's subjective. Every guy, what floats my boat doesn't float another guy's. Like guys, I'm not an ass man. I'm a tits man. So like when guys like, oh my God, she has such a big ass. I'm just like, it's kind of weird, but hey, whatever. Cause I can't suck on her ass. And I'm a titty guy. I love sucking on some titties, man. That's just my thing. But one of the favorite things for me is like undressed girl. I'm like, what kind of titties am I getting today? That's like really my thing. The ass, I'm just like, whatever shit comes out of that thing. I'm not that interested. So yeah, 100%. It is 100% subjective. Hi, I'm in Tokyo. Take a quick shot in the dark. What kind of girls do you think I like? I could have gone to South America, but between Asians and white girls, this is my thing. And then obviously, the Latinas are great as well. So yeah, it's 100% subjective. 100%. Anybody says that is just fucking imbecile.
Area code 474. We're going to come to you right after we get to Carl here. 914-205-5356 is the number to call if you want to get in on the conversation. If you have a question outside of the U.S., it is 001-914-205-5356. Try to be patient. Again, we try to get things in order. We try to stay on topic, et cetera, et cetera. Here's a good question for you, Carl. And this one I think you're uniquely qualified to answer. Is it actually women who hold the strictest and most static, in other words, non-static as far as dynamic, static and dynamic being opposites, the most static standards for ideal male beauty, not meant for women?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I went in on this earlier because, like he said, I mean, the ideal for a man has been the ideal for a man as long as we've had arms. Broad shoulders, well-muscled, fairly low body fat, etc. Female standards vary across the globe depending on the location, the culture, and so on. But where I want to say I disagree with it is where men have stricter standards in terms of what we will and will not fuck. A 300-pound woman will not talk a guy's dick hard. But a 300-pound man can talk a woman wet if he's smooth.
Yeah, Biggie Smalls.
Yeah, exactly.
Patrice O'Neal.
Right.
So that's the thing with women is, I talked to Ryan about this earlier, and my thing is I think men are about 80% visual and 20% other categories. And women are maybe 40 to 60% visual and the rest other categories. Because women do notice, and you notice that, especially if you use Tinder a lot, like I do, you do notice that women have physical standards and they have certain things they look for in pictures and so on. But once you meet up with a girl, you can use other methods, charm, humor, etc. And I'm kind of back and forth with Tom over at TD Day Game or TD something Day Game.
It looks like a TD Day Game. It's weird.
Because he keeps saying that, you know, he gets better quality girls on running Day Game than he does on Tinder. And of course you do, because you're selecting hotter girls. The girls you are able to approach out in the world probably swiped left on you on Tinder. So that's the reason why. Or you're buried yourself so far down a hole of ELO score that the only people who see you could double as guards for Hades. But anyway, so of course,
Is that a Cerberus reference? Three-headed dogs?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
That was the point. But anyway, what I was getting at was when you're on Tinder, it's very much looks based, and you notice differences with pictures and when you switch around your pictures a lot. But when you go out in the real world, girls aren't really that. They notice visual things, like a lot of women comment on my body language being very masculine, for instance, or they'll comment on specific things they like in looks, like there's some women like guys who are taller, more muscle, less muscle, etc. So they have their preferences too, but it doesn't weigh as heavy on the scale as male preferences. So women have a stricter set of standards. Men have to be within, but it's broader, while men have a very strict sense of standards and it's deeper. So like John said, he doesn't care about the ass. I think the ass is very important. You can't spank the shit out of some titties.
914-205-5356 is the number to call. Area code 474. You're on live with the Red Man Group. Thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Hey guys, do you hear me?
Yes, sir. By the way,
every damn call.
Hang on, listen, guys, check this out. I'm going to say this one more time. The first thing that needs to come out of your mouth is not, can you hear me? I can assure you we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for a great work, guys. My question today is for all of you, but especially for Rolo. And if it's any PUAs out there, you should listen carefully now, because this will save your life, the answer of this question. So my question is about teasing, nagging, and push-pull. And please correct me if I'm understanding is wrong here. So what does the push-pull and the teasing make sexual tension? And by push-pull, I mean like compliment and a tease, like, I like your sweet voice, but I don't like what you are telling me. And by teasing, I mean saying something negatively in a playful way, like stop swiping in your Tinder when they are answering a message. So this is funny lines, but why do they make sexual tension?
Let me correct real quick.
Also,
hold on,
yeah.
real quick. Wait, we'll answer one question at a time. Teasing or negging someone, or I think you're getting those mixed up. When you say, hey, stop swiping right on Tinder while you're on a date, that's just her behaving badly, right? So if you're out on a date and the girl's on her phone, right? Just
okay.
Not right now, sweetheart. You're on my time. There you go. Atta girl.
Yeah, and I'll jump in there real quick. So honestly, listen here. Look, you sound like an amateur, but I'll just give it to you straight. So look, when you push, pull, negging, all this shit, all you're doing is emotionally spiking this girl. All right, women live for the roller coaster of emotions. Okay, if it's fucking trauma, if it's fucking sadness, if it's fucking mind-blowing orgasms, if it's laughter, whatever you can do to spike those emotions, like you see those things at the carnival when the guy hits the hammer on the little floor thing and it hits the little weight up and it hits the bell when he hits those things. That's all you're doing. You're just arousing her emotionally. Now, those things right there, a woman doesn't get that through life. The typical woman goes through life pretty fucking bored. That's why it's so easy to get wives to cheat and get girlfriends to cheat, because usually the boyfriend has fallen into a pattern of keeping it nice. Yeah, nice and safe and predictable. And she's like, fuck this, bro. I need some trauma. I need some adventure in my life. That's why I think Ryan says, like, once in a while, he just like walk in the room and like call his girlfriend like a bitch or something, or call his wife like a cunt or something like that. And that's the same thing. You're thinking too, like the reason why this shit works is because you're just spiking their emotions. That's it. That's my perspective, at least.
Dude, I've stepped it up since then, by the way, John. It's at this point where I like do like random like chokes, like not where I could, but I don't.
Well, here's the thing. And I'll tell you something else, caller, is that women live for the unpredictable torture that comes with being with an unpredictable man, right? And we ask our questions. We ask the question a lot. Oh my God, her boyfriend's abusive and this and that and the other. Why does she stay with him? Well, because for better or worse, she'd rather be in an abusive relationship than a boring one. No, this doesn't mean Donovan Sharp or the Red Man Group endorses abusing females or physical violence or anything like that. Let's just get that disclaimer out of the way. But it's just like Jonathan said, you need to be an experience. You need to take her up and bring her down. I mean, and dude, 1 minute be completely stoic, be completely judgmental, and then the next minute be completely affectionate, loving, etc. Within the construct or the context of a first date, teasing and negging, the push-pull game that you're talking about, it's not complicated at all, but you have to sort of think before you act. And if you do it enough, it becomes second nature. So, for example, like when you show up with her on, like when she shows up, you see her for the first time, be like, wait a minute, I thought someone like you would wear better shoes than that. Well, I mean, I got them at JCPenney on sale. now she's qualifying herself to you. Well, you know, you kind of saved it because your hair looks good. I guess it looks pretty good tonight. Up and down, up and down. Now she's going to be on eggshells all night long. He likes my hair, but doesn't like my shoes. I wonder if he likes my outfit. And again, it's the uncertainty. It's the unpredictable that tickles the loins of young, hot females. That's my take on it. Okay, all right.
So
I guess that's it. Hopefully.
Well, here, I was gonna say, do you guys want? I can go into this one with a rather personal story. If you want to move on, we can move on. It's your call, Donnie.
No, go ahead. Go ahead and tell the personal story. And he says he's got one more question.
Yeah. Okay. Here, I'll give you a good story about my mom. She was with my stepdad for 20 plus years, and by anybody you would ask, that guy was an asshole, like objectively fucking horrible. She stuck with him through thick and thin. They used to have fights so bad that my brother used to wait at the bottom of the stairs with the baseball bat, being the protector type. It's a bit personal here, and I'm half drunk, but I'm drinking coffee now, so bear with me here. But there's a point. But there's a point to this. There's a point to this that gets to it. She stuck by his side. He screwed half the neighborhood because he had his SMV in order, to the point where after they divorced, he got a girl 20 years younger. She's like my age, and he's in his late 60s right now. The point is, when they got divorced, and I was like the typical good son, I told her, like, oh, date a nice guy, he'll treat you well. And she met this guy. His name was Gary. She dumped Gary after 6 months because she looked at me, and I shit you not, her exact words, I would rather be alone than with this guy who effing bores me.
There it is, man. That's it.
And as much as I feel for every girl out there who gets smacked around by an abusive husband, or like gets treated wrong by her man, or whatever Me Too crap you want to talk about, I feel for them all. But if they go back, they're clearly hooked on the dopamine that comes with that danger.
Yeah. So, dude, I just want to double down on that. Look, I did a show on my channel called What Do Women Want? And all women, what they want a variety of emotions. Like how I want to fuck a variety of girls. I'm trying to fuck some white girls, trying to fuck some Asian girls, Latina girls, whatever. Okay. How guys want sexual variety, women want emotional variety. Why do you think they watch these dumbass TV shows and they get all bent out of shape? And that's why another, like, you know, some of these red pill try hard guys, they're like, oh, just be stoic, never show emotion, never show like that.
Yeah, you must be the strong silent type. Women don't want the strong silent type. They want the guy who keeps her emotions on edge. What in the world is he going to do next? Is he going to make me feel happy or sad? Guys, listen. This keeps women hooked. This is why Nicole Brown stayed with O.J. Simpson, because O.J. played the ultimate push-pull game right up until he allegedly killed her. This is why Nicole couldn't get enough of O.J. Caller, go ahead and ask your next question. We'll pass this off to Rollo and Carl.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your answer. And the last part of the question is, the neg, do they do the same work? Is like, when I see neg, I mean, like, you show you are not interested in her, like you remind me of my little sister. Do they do the same work as teasing and push pull?
I think, thanks for the call, 474. You can listen to the rest. I think he's getting that mixed up. Negging a girl only happens when you're actually out on a date. So, and I think negging a girl means,
don't neg strangers. Jeez.
That sounds like he's just reading some copy paste shit from like Mystery Method in 2005.
Dude, listen, totally. And his question was totally scripted. It's like he gave us an example. Roll, I'll start with you first. What do you think about negging?
All right. Well, first off, he's got his wires crossed. First off, negging is not something that you're going to want to do. Negging is really more of an approach thing rather than you're already in the relationship kind of thing. Okay. Negging takes a woman out of her element and gets her to qualify to you. A neg is a backhanded compliment. It's not a, hey bitch, you suck. You know, it's not that. You remember, it's a backhanded compliment. It still has to be a compliment.
I'll give you an example.
But it has to make her think about things.
It's like, you look good for a redhead, right?
Yeah.
That's a neg.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you're pretty hot. Is there anything else going for you? You know, that kind of thing.
Or if you in Japan or Asian girls in general, I think it works for girls in general. If you point out like, oh, you're starting to get a little bit more of a wrinkle here, bro, they'll stay up for fucking weeks thinking about that.
Yeah, and remember, neg hits were part of the pickup process. They weren't part of like the attraction or the seduction or the comfort parts of it. It was part. Well, I guess it was the attraction side, but it's in the approach. It's not something that you're going to use once you're trying to create comfort there. That, I think what he's getting mixed up here is like he's got different. This is all Mystery Method stuff, but it's all he's mixing up his phases here is what he's doing. Well, wouldn't a neg be something that would make them feel bad about themselves? Well, no. What a neg is supposed to do is, it's like I said, it's a backhanded compliment, but what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to take that woman out of her element, because when you see a woman and she's in her social domain and maybe she's with like 2 or 3 of her friends. That's why women travel in packs, right? Because there's safety in numbers. They're looking for qualifications. And so every guy that comes up to her, hey, baby, I want to drive. Can I buy you a drink? You know, he's qualifying to her. What the neg does is it gets her to qualify to him. And that starts the conversation. And then you get the back and forth. That's when you get push and pull. That's when you get amuse mastery. That's when you get cocky and funny. That's when you get all this stuff. But those are all part of the attraction phase. That's all part of the interests phase. If you're talking about the takeaways, like we were talking about before, that a takeaway is what pickup artists would use to defeat last minute resistance, which I'm still not a big fan of. But if you want to know what the technique is, it is really operant conditioning. Remember, for women, attention is the coin of the realm in girl world. So attention is a reward. It is a good feeling. It's that dopamine hit like we were talking about before. So when that woman is getting that attention from a high value man that she's already determined is a high value man, because you've already gone through the attraction phase. Once she's determined that you're a high value man, then your attention is valuable. And when she isn't behaving in the way that you would want her to behave, which is to amplify, to escalate sexuality with her, sex with her. If she's not behaving in the way you want her to behave, then you remove the reward, which is your attention. So if you're in a situation where she's hot and cold to you, then you take it away and you go, hey, she's like women will do this. This is a classic example. Okay. Women will say, we're not having sex tonight. Hey, whoa, wait a minute. Who said anything about sex?
Famous last words.
I'm here
famous
for
last words.
Well, yeah, of course, famous last words. But how do you deal with something like that? It's like, hey, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not that kind of guy. I don't have sex on the first day. That kind of. That's so you turn the shit around on her. You flip the script around on her. What you're doing is you're pulling away your attention that she thought was so valuable. She wouldn't say that to you if she didn't think that she was going to have sex with you, right? But she's saying that to you, or it's like, I have a boyfriend. Whoa, what's his name? What does he major in? That kind of stuff, and so you flip that around on them. And what you're doing is you're pulling away that reward. Remember, this is all operant conditioning. You want to know how to train your girlfriend? You put her just like Pavlov's dogs, man. You ring the bell and you say, okay, well, what's valuable? What does that dog want? What is a reward to that dog? What is a reward to that woman? Well, if attention is a reward, and we've spent half this show explaining how attention is a huge reward, but it's only a reward if that guy is a high value man. If she actually has some sort of value in your attention, okay, let's presume that you do. Taking that away is a punishment, and that's where you get the takeaway. And then what you do is you leave her alone for 5 minutes. You come back, you start, get a little bit a little bit closer and everything. If she says, oh wait, we're not going to do anything, then you pull it away for another 10 minutes, right? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you know what? And then 3 shots and you're out, right? You say, okay, fine. I can see that this isn't where you want to go. So, and you pull that away. So that's kind of almost like a shit test for women, because what you're doing is you are removing the reward, and then you're reinstituting the reward again. That's why it's push and pull, right? So you push and then you pull. And you push.
Let me ask you something real quick, just kind of off topic. How did you deal with, or how would you theoretically deal with last minute resistance, Rollo? I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Same thing. That is exactly what that is. I'm not a big fan of trying to defeat last minute resistance, because if there is last minute resistance, then usually that woman is not 100%, and she's not the hell yes girl if there's last minute resistance.
They never are. Right?
There's something that's mitigating. Remember when Iron Rule of Tomasi #3, if any woman that makes you wait for sex, or by her actions is implying that she's making you wait for sex, the sex is never worth the wait. I want a girl that is 100% committed, that is ready to go, right? She doesn't have to be drunk to have sex with me. She doesn't have to be, her friends can't say, oh, you should go have sex. I want her to, in her back of her head, I want to own that chick's head is what I want. I want to own my genuine desire, her genuine desire for me. I want to make sure that that's 100% before. So, like I said, if you're in a position where you have to like lay on the bed and cuddle with her and spoon with her, and she has to be comfortable with you, I'll guarantee you that she's been at a bachelorette party giving the male stripper a blowjob, right? But he didn't have to do any of that, because remember, women will make rules for betas and they will break rules for alphas. And
so that means she perceives you as a beta?
Not necessarily. Well, okay, that's not. Yeah, yes, but it's not that she couldn't see you as something else. At least that's what it is in theory, right? So it's like you haven't, from a purely pickup artist perspective, you are increasing her buying temperature, right? She's at 80% interest, and you wanted to get it to 100% interest. So how do you do that? Well, you do what this guy was asking. He say, what about the neg hit? What the neg hit is in a completely different phase than it is for the attraction phase that you're already attracted. But in the comfort building phase, or in the rapport phase, right there. Okay, and this is mystery method. This isn't like, mystery method, like you were saying before, is something that's from like 2003. And I hate it when people talk about, oh, you guys are all just pickup artists, those pickup artists with their fluffy hats and their black fingernail polish and all this other shit. It's like, dude, that you have a parody of a PUA in the back of your head that was created almost 20 years ago. So
not that much though. That's the thing.
PUA has evolved. PUA has evolved, and it's much more refined than it used to be back in the day. And back in the day, it was freaking Wild West. But last minute resistance, I'm not a fan of trying to overcome last minute resistance for 2 reasons. First of all, it means that chick is not 100% into having sex with me, and then second of all, you run the risk of having a woman have regrets, like she did for Aziz Ansari. Right? Remember that whole situation with Aziz Ansari when he got a blowjob from the chick, and then he tried to escalate it to sex, and that's when she backed off, and then she wrote a whole big thing about it. And of course, we're in the Me Too era, so she's getting attention. Yeah, he raped me. Well, no, you went from being 100% with him to being 80% with him, and now that you're out of that, and all of those emotions and all of the tension that was going on in the moment at that point is gone, and now her rational mind is rationalizing why it was rape or misconduct, anyways, why it was, and she can get attention for having brought up the fact that, well, it was kind of gray area sex. Okay, so remember, attention is a reward. So if she's getting attention from over here, and they're saying, girl, I think maybe you were assaulted by this guy, even though you gave him head, you were still assaulted by this guy. Well,
even you sucked his dick. His dick didn't suck itself.
Yeah, so that's I mean, when it comes to last minute resistance, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I think guys should avoid, particularly right now. And then the problem is guys go through all, particularly if all you are into is just having sex with the next girl on the next weekend. Is it really worth your time? Is from a pragmatic approach? I'm going to go all Alan Roger Curry on you here. Is it really worth the time and investment that you would have to spend to get her from 80% to 100% if you've got like 2 or 3 other girls in your Rolodex that are already at 100%, right? So why would you even bother with that? You just say, okay, well, fine, you're not into it. Great, I got 3 more girls that are into it right now anyways, and I'm going to go talk to them. Call me when you're ready.
You know?
Sometimes it's just ego. Sometimes I just like it's on principle. I'm like, I just got to fuck this bitch on principle.
Yeah, well, then you've got, and then, you know, I'm a big fan of ego. I actually don't think that guys should kill their egos. I think that if you kill your ego, you're actually effectively dead. But I will say this is that don't let ego get in the way of making practical, reasonable decisions.
Carl, what you got on this, man?
Well, I was going to look into it because negging was invented for one reason, to blow out bitch shields.
True.
Yeah, that was the only reason why it existed. It wasn't a big part of the game. It was just when you're in the club and you know there are girls in there getting attention from like 200 dudes, having like a line of guys in queue with their numbers in hand ready to buy her drinks. You did use the neg to just kind of blow out that unapproachable frame the girl put around herself. So you do that and you're immediately different than all the guys who've come up and complimented her. And a neg was never supposed to make a girl cry. If your negs makes girls cry, you're doing it wrong. It's negs, it's not anal sex.
Carl's a savage. My bad. Go ahead, dude.
Yeah, so you guys, and I've said this on Twitter too, that a lot of guys stopped learning. They learned one thing from game, and that's just negging. And what they have to get into is, okay, you use the neg so you can deliver your opener. It's the same thing if you're doing date game in the London model. You're supposed to be kind of animated and very attention-getty when you're approaching a girl, so she actually gets that you're approaching her, instead of, you know, coming up behind her or something, then perhaps spook her. And then you have to look, the difference between a neg and teasing is teasing can have an edge to it, like John calling his Japanese girl a godless devil or something like that, or Ryan playfully choking his wife every once in a while.
That's for the private chat, you son of a bitch.
I'll own it, whatever. I'm not. I could, but I'm not.
So the whole point with that is you're teasing the girl. She knows that you like her. She knows you like having sex with her. But you're teasing her, so you're kind of breaking the rapport. Teasing is a way of breaking rapport in a controlled fashion to build tension. That's all it really is. You're not going to start to... And humor is also useful when she asks you a question like, how many women have you slept with? If you just say, I'm not going to answer that question, she's going to keep asking. And she'll keep asking. If you give her a reasonable answer, she'll keep asking. So what I found is, say something flippant like, well, you know, I used to keep count, but, you know, it all becomes a blur when you pass 100.
Actually, I've got a good one for that. So how many girls have you slept with? Well, if I'm counting on you being the first tonight, fingers crossed, and then kind of smirk at it.
That's a good one.
Those ones are awesome because it's such an obvious lie. It says,
Of
like,
course,
you
exactly.
get the subtext.
Yeah, it's like, you know, one of the things I've noticed, if a girl starts, a lot of them will ask you what you do for work on the first date very early in the date. And
I'm a drug dealer for the Medellin cartel.
Yeah, if you answer that honestly, it's a kiss of death. So I usually go with, oh, I'm a porn star. You can find me on X videos. I'm Dick Longson.
I'm a disposable lighter repairman. That's the one from the game.
I'm a high-level drug dealer for the, you know, pick up Mexican drug cartel. And then if you have, I've used this 20 times, and they look at you like, are you serious? And if she asks you, are you serious? Then you just change the subject because now she's like, holy shit, is this guy really a drug dealer? Guess what? That's the push-pull. That's that range of emotions that we're talking about.
You guys are so much more sophisticated than me. I used to say an accountant just so they'd stop asking.
Oh, never, dude. Carl's answer was, dude, I've never used porn star.
Play with them and play with them.
And now that's teasing. That's also teasing. So what do you do for a living? I'm an underwater basket weaver. Wait, what? What do you do for a living? I'm a yoga instructor. Wait, for real? Right? What do you do for a living? I'm a cocaine dealer. Well, you just said that so flippantly. Well, I've been at it for 5 years, so yeah, I'm not ashamed of it. Right? What do you do for a living? I'm a marriage counselor for homosexual couples. Wait, that's how you keep them on their. That's how you keep them on their toes, man. It's
my current one now that I'm going to be trialing is, you know those dildos you buy over at the sex shops? I'm the model for those.
This is great. This is great, man. We got to do a show on shit test responses and negative.
Yeah, that would be really good.
All right,
like it.
Oh, go ahead, Carl. My bad. Go ahead. You got it.
No, I was done.
Okay, we're gonna go to the phone line. Then we're gonna answer those. We're gonna answer the super chat questions. I've got them all in the queue. Okay, caller, you are on with the Red Man Group. You're calling from another country. Yes, we can hear you, and you go ahead.
Donovan, how are you doing? Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Good, man. Good.
Good.
What's up?
Right online. I've been trying to reach. I mean, I have to say, I'm absolutely delighted and honored to be on the phone with you guys. It's been a dream, really. I'm gonna try to make it short for you because I know you have a lot of phone calls to attend to. But I've got one question for Donovan. I've got one question for Rollo. I'll start off with Rollo. So I have a very nice library at my place. My place just screams out masculinity because I'm a risk manager. I'm a head of risk and consulting at a big investment company.
I hope there's nothing risk management in your fucking house.
Sorry?
I hope there's nothing risk management in your house, man. 'Cause that's not masculine.
Continue.
No. My place says about to fuck someone. Because you go in, you got the G2B hanging, you got the boxing gloves, the Muay Thai pads, I've got the fucking carpentry tools everywhere, and so on and so forth. So when they walk in, the women are like, oh, actually, I've never been to a guy's place that, has all these stuff. Like, I have like 3-4 drills and all these stuff. She's like, oh, you're a carpenter? I'm like, yeah, I do it on the side. It's something that men should be doing and should be familiar with. Especially that in this side of the world, in the Middle East, especially where I'm staying now, where people are too fucking rich to give a shit. They never do things by themselves anymore. Where whenever they have a problem, the wife's like, oh, this is broken. They just call fucking another man to come in and fix something in his own house in front of his wife. But the question that I wanted to ask Rollo is, I've got your 3 books and No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover in front of me. And every time I'm inviting a chick over, I hide them. I'm trying to let them know, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like, should women know about this, or am I letting them in on a secret that they shouldn't know?
Okay.
They won't care.
I think that's the question for Rollo. What was your question for me? And then we'll answer it in succession here.
The question for you is, and I reckon you're going to like this one. So you do jiu-jitsu. You're into weights. I do the same. I had my first amateur boxing match at the end of the month at the age of 31. But I have a problem when it comes to competitions now, which is too many chicks appearing at the fucking competition when I didn't invite any of them.
And that's a problem because
they end up fucking fighting with each other. Well, it's a good thing because they compete over me and then I choose who do I sleep with. But at the same time, it causes a lot of problems at the gym. We're like, oh, I didn't know that he was fucking the 4 of us. I didn't know that he was seeing the 3 of us. I'm like, listen, I didn't commit to any of you. We were just meeting. You're just interested in me because I'm not just the typical gym rat who coaches, and I'm not the guy who's sitting behind the desk all day with a big belly. I'm balancing between both. So no commitment here. But my problem is they all keep showing up, and then every competition is a fucking problem, and I'm distracted.
Okay, I'll answer this question first.
Woe is me, guy. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
You calling to fucking brag? Like, do you want us to bang you too? You want to be a panelist?
That's what the biggest issue in terms of you going into an amateur boxing match or sparring competition is you being distracted by girls. Dude, that's a you problem. You can't let chicks distract you when you're. This is the thing. This is what alpha male strategies call staying on your purpose. Is when you're in your man zone, if you're paying attention to all these women, listen, they're still going to be attracted to you, but their attraction dwindles a little bit because you're focusing on them rather than what you're there for. They're there for you, but they're there for you because you are where you are. If all of a sudden you lose concentration because of them, they're thinking subconsciously, okay, well, if all we have to do is show up and break his frame, what else rattles this guy's cage? Go ahead, Rollo, answer that first question.
Do you guys remember a bodybuilder called Samir Banaut?
I don't.
From the 90s. That's when I listen to this guy, I'm like, does he look like Samir Banaut? Because that would be one of his problems here. He was like this. I think he was like this Middle Eastern bodybuilder. Anyway, people are in the chat are gonna go, oh man, now I gotta go look this guy up. As far as your question to me, I wrote about this. There's an essay I put it in the chat here. It's called "The Secret of the Red Pill." Do not tell women about the red pill. Why?
There it is.
Well, because or if you've got my book laying around, be prepared. Never appeal to truth unless you are prepared to deal with the anger that comes from disillusionment. And that's what you're doing when you give a woman my book. You're disillusioning them. So there's two ways that this happens. The first one is the easy one is you are involving yourself in what's called the observer bias or the observer effect, which means that observing a process changes that process. Okay. So if you are making, like women want to play the game, they don't want to be told that they are playing a game. So when I say, oh, a woman loves a guy who just gets it. Well, you can't go and explain how you just get it. You have to show her. You have to demonstrate, not explicate. Well, what happens is when you have my book laying around, or you have Dr. Glover's book laying around, and she picks it up and she goes, "What's this rational male stuff?" Right? I'll guarantee you that if you don't want to keep having sex with that woman, or if you want that woman to have the same opinion of you a week later, don't let her read my book, because what she's going to think is like, oh, this is where he gets all that stuff.
It's not genuine.
It's not. Yeah. Then you're inauthentic. And I tell guys this all the time. I say, you have to play the game with her. You play with her and play with her. And that's part of it, is not giving up your secrets. The magician never gives up his secrets, right? That's why, or else the magic goes away. Right. Sure. So always read that post. I put it in here. It's called the Secret of the Red Pill. If you don't, yeah, the short answer is just simply don't do that. Don't, keep it away from her. Too many guys do this, because they're very literal minded. I think a lot of guys are somewhere on the autistic scale. And if you're on the one end of it, it's like, well, I'm going to tell these women exactly what it is they're doing. Right. I'm going to reveal their game. I'm going to strip off the veneer and show them exactly what this is, your hypergamy. And this is this is the games you're playing. And look, Rollo spelled it out here in black and white. And they think that that's going to because they're revealing the game, that's going to in some way make them more attractive. No, you're basically giving up the game. It's like you're playing Monopoly and you take the board and you go, see, it's just a game. And you throw the Monopoly board away. Right. And so you're not playing a game anymore, and she's not interested, and there's no magic and there's no fun involved anymore. So it's gone. So just because if you go to the casinos and you're really good at counting cards, are you going to go to the pit boss and say, I'm really good at counting cards? Or are you going to go in there and you're going to play the game and you're going to play it well and you'll walk out with more money than you walked in there with? That's what you're going to do.
Well said. All right, we're going to go ahead and get to the super chat questions here. The first one comes from Marcus again with 20 British pounds. I want Ryan to answer this one. He says, 2 years into the red pill, and okay for the most part, but feel like I'm experiencing second anger phase, maybe due to a high chance that I won't have kids or I'll be spinning plates for a very long time. I'm 34 years old. Is this normal?
Yes, the 2 year I've been in red pilled for 2 years. What is a shit test guy? Oh, this is awesome. All right, here's the problem, man. You never read anything. You never did any of the work, but you felt part of the group because you looked at us a couple times on YouTube when you were on the shitter. Here's the problem with your second anger phase. Your first anger phase wasn't even an anger phase. You got angry because other people were getting angry, and that's what the group does, the cult does, and that's what you did. This second anger phase is you actually realizing your actual problems and dealing with your actual hangups on women. So yes, it's 100% normal. It's perfectly normal. I would drop some YouTube bannable words right now about you if I wasn't on the podcast here. So here's the thing. With this second anger phase, you've been given a gift. The gift you have is you're actually going to do research. You're going to actually go and stop just reading 4 Rollo posts. You're actually going to go buy his book.
Yes.
You're going to actually read Athel K. You're going to actually read Ian Ironwood. You're actually going to read the posts on Whisper, on Archwinger, on Human Sock Puppet, on me, I hope. Carl's book, Gendernomics. You're going to start reading all this stuff, and you're actually going to fully start to understand it. And outside of this, you're going to realize that the goals you made for yourself were bullcrap. You still had your same mental model. You were being a child with dynamite. And you remember that article. I know you do, because that was one of the 3 you read. You read that and Saving the Best. And then you're like, I'm red-pilled now. And here's the thing. You're eventually going to come out of this on the other side very well off. You're going to start realizing that being the selfish, compartmentalized narcissist is actually going to be closer to get to your goals. And it's going to be better, because right now you're talking like a girl hitting the wall. I'm 35 and I haven't found a man yet. Oh my God. As a guy, you'll be fine. My brother's, how old is he now? He's like 36. He just finally got his like live-in girlfriend. I got to go meet her actually like next month. He wasn't concerned at all. He was Chad incarnate. He wasn't even worried, and he's going to be just fine. She's young, she's tight, she's thin. It's perfect. So to answer your question, yeah, this is not a second anger phase. It's just an actual honest anger phase.
Yeah, he might be experiencing his first anger phase. He maybe have thought that he experienced his anger phase until it really started to hit him. That, wait a minute, holy shit, this stuff is real. Now it's really starting to hit him. Got a super chat question from Redman, a non-$10. Says, I think the sexual market value of a woman drops also based on the number of partners she's had, because with guys, let's spell like men. Let's not go cuz. She had, because each partner, she gets more mentally fucked. Why would you be the guy who pays for the emotional damage of other guys? Carl, you bang a lot of these emotionally damaged chicks. Are you paying?
Carl, you hit the bottom of the barrel. What's your thoughts?
Are you paying anything? Are you paying for the emotional damage? What say you?
No, but I'm banging them. I'm not wifing them up. So the way I view it, I'm actually collecting dividends for all the sexual training other men have given them. I mean, a girl don't know how to deep throat by default. It's actually a lot of work to train a girl into being able to do that.
Yeah, most girls are stuck in blowjobs, actually. Just random thought.
But the whole point with it is, if you're going to wife up a girl, yes, partner count matters. I don't think a girl's SMV is influenced at all by how many partners she's had, unless it does physical lasting damage to her appearance. Like if the girl looks like she's been ridden hard and put away wet, then yeah, that's going to be an issue. If she's had girls with notch counts in the 20s and 30s and 40s, there are certain things that goes along with that lifestyle. Usually late nights, a lot of partying, a lot of alcohol, a lot of cocaine, and the occasional beating from a guy when you're dating a thug and he finds out he's number 18.
100.
They don't take that very well. So there are a lot of risks with that lifestyle that will age a woman prematurely. Because, if you look at college girls, the freshman 20 is there for a reason, because girls move out, they stop working out, they start eating late night pizzas and drinking. Plus, with the amount of cum a girl swallows these days in college, she's probably close to 2,000 calories in just semen.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Listen, hold on. I'm going to add something to what Carl says. A lot of you guys need to understand that there is a big difference between sexual market value and relationship market value.
Yes.
Does not count with sexual market value. So when a girl says, I have high sexual market value, no, more guys than a lot of guys want to fuck you. But just because I want to fuck you does not mean I'm trying to wife you up. You might have high sexual market value, but your relationship market value, sweetheart, you've banged 178 guys in the last 178 weeks. Like, you don't have any relationship market value. So I think guys need to start distinguishing the difference between SMV and RMV. A lot of guys conflate the two, and that's not what you need to do. I've got a question here from Bobby111. This one here, I'm gonna point to Jonathan. He says, men must work hard to go from zero to hero. Women automatically yet unknowingly go from hero to zero. Time and sweat equity are on the side of men. What do you say about that?
Oh, look, the bottom line is this. Most women are like the average person who wins the lottery. Most women, their currency is their youth and their sexual prowess, right? That's like what they have to trade in order to get a man to keep them. And most women squander that shit. They have no fucking idea what they're doing. So, I mean, yeah, for most guys, at the end of the day, like, yeah, a girl, like I met a girl the other day, right? This Korean girl, great tits, right? And she was like, I'm a lawyer. I was like, cool, I don't care. She's like, I went to Duke. I was like, still don't care. But boy, oh boy, are those tits great. You know, like that's just the thing. Like that's the great thing about being a guy is like, hey, I can work my way to the top. Like any guy can become a solid 8 with just an insane gym regimen. Any guy can go from fucking a 6 incel to like an 8 in a year if you just religiously dedicate yourself to making money, making muscles, and learning game. But if you as a guy, you can change your values. Like, but if a girl, like, I don't give
like you care, add that to your list.
Sure, but even if you're like jacked as fuck and you just dress like a homeless person, the bitches are still gonna love you. But if you're a bitch and you can deadlift 315, you can bench press 400, I don't give a shit. How good are your sandwich making skills? Are your tits really weird when I take off your bra? Like, are you great at fucking giving blowjobs? That's what I care about. And that's the thing. Like, that's why I tell these guys, you know, hey, you can sit here, you can cry about woe is me, women this, women that. No, the great thing about being a man is you can make your life awesome. The bad thing about being a man is if your life sucks, it's 100% your fault, and you have to accept that.
Listen, here's something else to add to that. Rolo says this all the time. Men are made, women are born. This is how fortunate women are. In order to become a female of potential quality, all a girl has to do is stay awake. All they got to do. If a female avoids two things by the time she's 19, 20, 21 years old, the world is her oyster. She has her pick and men. All she has to do is not get fat and not be a slut, right? So eat 2,000 healthy-ish calories a day and don't ride the carousel. If you're a 6, doesn't matter. You will have your choice in men. When you are, but it's funny, men and women, we hit the genetic lottery when we're born. Because as men, we're men. I mean, there's no need to explain why we've hit the lottery because we're men.
It's the ultimate genetic lottery.
Well, there you go. But females realize their winnings a lot sooner. Here's the problem. Men, we hit the lottery. When men hit the lottery when we're born, we still have to go downtown and collect our winnings. That takes a while, okay? Females get their lottery winnings deposited into their account immediately or as soon as they hit 16, 17 years old. The problem is that they blow all their winnings on cock and pizza. This is what happens, right? So when we're talking about like the difference between the struggle, this is why men of value have more mental capacity than a female of value, because she didn't really have to do anything except for be a female to have this perceived value.
Dude, half of that thing you talked about was amazingly delicious. I'm not going to tell you which half, but I'll leave it up to you to guess.
I'll make Devin make a sandwich out of that.
Dude, you're like one drink away from blacking out, aren't you, Ryan?
Not at all, dude. Sailor Ryan is coming out. I'm this close to like getting Thor in Fort mode. You have no idea.
I'm ready.
Hey guys, listen, before we get to this super chat from Rob L, I'm actually going to pose this question to Rolo Tomasi. Nicholas Parkinson, $1.99 says, wifing up a woman with a high notch count is bad? Yes. All right, let's go to Rob L.
Super bad.
Super chat says, hey, fellas, I've been using a short-term alpha strategy with women who are 8s, 9s, and 10s, but what are y'all's thoughts on an LTR with a 9 or a 10? I heard it's bad news. Rolla, before I get to you, I've had relationships with 9s and 10s before. I have dated plenty of 9s and 10s. Almost all of them cheated on me, number one. Number two, 9s and 10s are useless, okay? Dude, I could go on about this for hours, but I'm not going to take up everybody's time here. Dating 9s and 10s, it's great. They look good, but sex with the average 6 or 7 blows away the average sexual experience you have with a 9 or 10. The only difference in the sex between a 9 and 10 or a 6 and a 7 is that 9s and 10s look good. That's about it. 9s and 10s don't suck dick as well as 6 and 7s. Guys, I'm here to tell you. If you expect a 9 or a 10 to suck your cock like the porn star you spank the monkey to every day on your laptop computer, you're in for a rude awakening, guys. Don't get me wrong. You will run into the occasional 9 or 10 who will give you porn star style sex. Those are few and far between. Here's another thing. 9s and 10s are useless because they've never had to be useful, right? Why are they going to work for something that they are getting for free without trying anyway, which is attention? So, no, relationships with 9, listen, you see it right over my shoulder. 9s and 10s are a lot of things. Useful isn't one of them. They are a fucking headache. This is not to disparage you from going out and trying to date and fuck 9s and 10s. 9s and 10s are community property, gentlemen. Okay?
Yeah.
Dude, fuck them, chuck them, move on to the next one. Do not get into relationships with these women. Don't commit long term. I've made this mistake many, many times. I'll never make that mistake again.
And just to double down on that, yeah, like most of these guys who idolize 9 or 10s, they haven't fucked their 9 or 10. Because after I've dealt with it, I'm like, yo, this shit is cancer to my life. Like I said, these days, a 10 for me is a girl that's just fucking obedient and helpful. Like I look at girls, they're all on the sexual payroll, and I look at them all as employees. I'm like, are you massaging me? Are you cooking? Are you cleaning? Are you fucking making my life more worth? Like, are you fucking making my life more worthless? Like, what are you doing? And yeah, like I said, these 9s and 10s, they're so used to the entire world jacking them off every fucking moment that they're awake, telling them how awesome they are, telling them how great they are, throwing money, throwing attention at them. But when that wall hits, boy, they are fucked, man. They're like, yo, I have no skills. I'm a talentless bum. I'm fucking 55. And then I just gotta like start like adopting cats pretty much because it hits them really quick. So yeah, like I said, a lot of guys saying they're community property, 100% guys. And most of the guys that say this, they haven't been with a 9 or a 10. They've
never been with a 9 or a 10. Here, we got to, and real quick, roll up. We got a lot of guys in here faking the funk. Every once in a while, we'll get a guy in the chat. Yeah, I date nothing but 9s or 10s, guys. Don't accept any less, dude. If you
just talked about that,
you're just talking shit because if you really did date 9s and 10s, you'd be in the chat room talking about, listen, don't be dating 9s and 10s. You can fuck them. Don't wife these bitches up. Don't commit to these people. Rolo, what are your thoughts on dating 9s and 10s?
All right. Who has to work harder to impress you? An HB7 in bed or an HB 9.5 in bed?
HB7.
Who has to learn? Who has to actually have the insight to think, I better fuck this guy really good to keep him to stick around? The HB7 or the HB9?
Give it to the
it's very, this is just simple math is what this is. Like if you well, we talk about this all the time with guys who are like quote unquote natural alphas, right? They're just lucky with girls, right? The girls just throw themselves at them because they have model quality good looks. Well, those guys end up becoming some of the worst betas you've ever known because they never have the moment of insight to ask, why is what I'm doing successful? Like if you ask, the worst thing to do is to ask an alpha guy or ask a really good looking guy like for advice on how to get chicks because he doesn't know. He'll be like, oh, I just smile at him, boy, and they just come right. You know, right. I don't know. It's just freaking magic. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with hot chicks, right? I mean, now think about it this way: is that women who they don't have that incentive to have any kind of insight. I'm going to throw something else out here, and I don't want to throw my buddy Tate under the bus, but I don't know, maybe you guys would probably rate his girls a little bit different, but that one blonde that he's with all the time, that Irina chick, is pretty.
The tattoo of him on him?
I think she is. Well, they all have his tattoos on them, right? They all got that. But I would say he is, most of the chicks he's with, most guys would say are somewhere between an 8 and a 9.5. Now, I should also say this is, there's no such thing as a 10. A 10 is an ideal. Okay.
True story.
And then, so a woman to me can get up to be about a 9.5, but the other half a point at least is always earned on performance. So keep that in the back of your head. If you got a chick who's a 7 and then she fucks you like a porn star, maybe she's a 7.5 because of her performance, right? So there's that aspect of it. There's a couple of things I do like and I don't like about the rating system. The first one is that when guys are talking about women between, like, say 1s and 10s, we're talking about, I am anyways, talking about the HB scale that used to be what PUAs would set as their standard. I think there needs to be something a little bit more concrete set in that. And what I mean by that is I think that there needs to be sort of an SMV scale, but there also needs to be a self-esteem scale.
Boom.
Okay. So if you've got a woman who is 9, which you would say was a 9, and yet her self-esteem is somewhere around 2 or 3, you're going to be dealing with a freaking nightmare. Okay. Or if you, now let's flip it. If you've got a woman whose self-esteem is like a 9 and she's crazy, like self-important, but she's a 6, she is equally as difficult to deal with. Okay, so you see this imbalance as to what she believes she is and what she actually is. And I'd say in the age of social media, women's self-understanding of their own sexual market value is completely overinflated because, again, attention is reward to them. And if you're constantly rewarded by that, their self-image is, that's why I say that social media is just as dangerous as pornography can be to some guys, because women like to say, well, pornography gives men an unrealistic idea of what women are really about. Well, guess what? Social media also gives women an unrealistic idea of what they're about and what they deserve in men. So you got women who are 5s and 6s who think that they're 7s and 8s, right? So that's right there. But I was going to say is like, if you look at the chicks who are really exceptionally good looking, they require a lot of game. They require a lot of attention. They require a lot of, you have to have superior frame control. Like yes. Tate was if you look at Tate's videos when he's dealing with the chicks that he's dealing with, people want to say, oh, he's being very abusive with them. It's like, no, that's what is required to keep that chick in line. That is what's required to maintain any kind of a relationship with that one, because that woman, it's like a wild animal. She's going to be, chomping at the bit. She's going to be trying to get away from you all the time. And if you are not a superior, animal trainer, that animal is going to go feral and get away from you and run off and do whatever that animal is going to go do. Right. So it's going to require you to have a level of game that most guys simply don't have. And that can be, that can be superior game. That can be having a lot of money. That can be being very good looking, or maybe all of those three. So if you got a woman who has a lower self-esteem and a higher sexual market or higher HB number and a lower self-esteem, that can be a nightmare, because then you've got a BPD girl. Okay. Ooh. If you've got a girl who is a physically, she's a 4, and mentally or self-esteem wise, she is she's a 7 or an 8 to herself, you got another nightmare, because you got a self-important, egotistical feminist who's going to tie her hair and cut it short. Okay, that's what I'm looking at for as far as those relationships are put. Now, here's the other thing: you also have to adjust for region. Okay, so if you are in South Beach, Miami, or you're in down where the bikini models are, an HB10 there is going to be different than the HB woman who is in Butte, Montana. Okay, so if they're so you have to seriously you have to adjust for, like, women tend to congregate in regions where they can make the most of their sexual market value. So if you've got a woman who is like a hard 9, she's not going to stick around Butte, Montana, or, bumfuck Idaho. She's going to go to Miami. She's going to go to LA. She's going to go to New York. She's going to go where she can maximize that. So what that does is it drops down the average of whatever the most attractive chick is in your particular region. So let's just say, for example, you live in Butte, Montana, right? The chick that you think is an 8 in Butte, Montana doesn't even rate in South Beach. Oh, okay? Hell. She's a 4 in South Beach, but you think she's fantastic because, again, that's your localized sexual marketplace. And so you think she's fantastic. Like when guys, we were talking about this earlier on in the show, guys will say, they'll say like, I have a preference for fat chicks, or I have a preference for blondes, or I have a preference for this type of chick, right? Well, they're going back to what has been sexually successful for them in the past. Is what they're doing. They say, oh, well, I like single mommies. Well, you like single mommies because they're easier to fuck. Okay. Yes. I like women who are, and then they'll make it. They love to get into this one. I'm looking for a woman who's a little bit more mature. I want to find a chick who's like 36 or 38 years old. Why? Because she's a cougar and you're younger, and it's easier to get laid with that chick. You think you have a preference for that, but it's just simply what you have learned, behaviorally what you've learned. You're going to go back to whatever watering hole was successful for you the last time. When it comes to sex, you're going to go back to what has been productive for you in the past. There was a time when I was in my 20s, man, I nailed chicks who were like in their early 40s, like 38, 40. There was a chick that she was one of the managers in my band. And she was like 40 some odd years old. And I didn't realize at the time that she wanted to manage the band that I was in, or she wanted to be a part of it because I was in it and she wanted to have sex with me. Right. And so I didn't pick up on that until I became more red pill aware and I understood what was going on. But it's like, it's just easier to do that. It's easier to get with fat chicks. Try harder, right? A fat chick is going to blow your mind in bed, because if she doesn't, she knows you're leaving. She knows you're out the door and the next chance you get. And she's used to that. So she needs to make up for what her physical deficiencies are in performance. So these are things that guys don't really think about. And that the reason I wanted to talk about guys having preferences is because that preference is also adjusted by what your region is. So if the chicks in your region you think are 8s, and then you go to South Beach in Florida and you see these chicks on the beach, or you go to Aruba or something like that and you see these girls who just strippers on the beach, right? And then you look at that, and if you're living in that all the time, then your standards go up. And we talked about this before we came on the air. It's like a lot of guys like to say that their standards are so high. Like mine are pretty high. They're high because in my past, in my job, it's been my job to select good-looking women so that they're my poor girls, right? If I go into, I work in the liquor industry, in case anybody doesn't know that. It's been my job to hire talent to be like booth candy, like at a trade show or at a martini fest or wherever it is that we're going, right? Mm-hmm. And I have to select these women based on the demographic of that particular promo that I'm doing, and what's going to effectively be, basically I was paid to pick out women to match whatever that particular demographic has been. And so when I look at these chicks, I have a certain idea of in my mind, who I want to use, but it's not just, they got to be hot, because they do have to be hot, but they also have to be approachable. They also have to be somebody that a guy like, they got to have a good smile, right? They got to be inviting, because you want people to come to your booth and pour them a drink and talk to them about it. And then you do deals that way. And they're there to attract and to bring those guys in. We have to, I'm very good at what I do, because, and people want to say, well, how, Rollo, he's married, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Like, dude, I am in the field nowadays I'm in the field at least twice a month. It used to be every freaking weekend, and I was doing stuff like this, and sometimes even more than that. But I got very good at reading people and reading situations and reading social dynamics within where the places that I was. And here we are, people are drinking, people have their inhibitions down, they're talking about stuff. I'm watching this, but I'm like, you want to know where I got most of my material for the books? It was watching people interact with each other and watching what they do when they're attracted to a chick and when they're not attracted to a chick, or when a chick is kind of like standoffish. Like, one of my criteria for pulling poor girls is that they don't have resting bitch face, right? So that they're not like this all the time. I want somebody with a good smile who's going to bring it in. And if that means that the chick is like an 8.5 as per a woman who might be a 9 with resting bitch face, I'm going to go for the 8.5 who's more inviting, because she's a better connection for the guys that I want to market to, right? So in that sense, I think guys don't really realize all of the things that are in play when they decide that, oh, well, I have really high standards for women. Well, that's what every guy's going to say, right? Well, I have really high standards.
That's why guys who don't get any fucking ass, because let me tell you something, with this whole rating system too, the quickest way for you guys to catch like some real knowledge, because I don't know about you guys, but even if I bang the hottest girl in the world, the first or second time I'm bang her, I'm just like, she's not that hot after all. Like, I want her to ideally some of these girls, I want to bang them, and I just want them to fucking disappear like all the Avengers at the end of fucking Infinity War with Thanos. That's my ideal situation for most of these broads.
It's all their ego. It's all their ego. Here, actually, perfect story. I love Tate. He reminds me of my stepfather, the way he was acting. I might have to fight him one day, but that's not the point. Take all of Tate's girls, every single one of them, put a t-shirt on them, a pair of jeans, and a MAGA hat. All of a sudden, they're the HB6. That's the cutest girl at the dinner party.
There you go.
Now, I'm not saying this to disparage Tate. The girls are great. But here's why those chicks are 8s and 9s to you guys. It's because Tate gets to brag about what he's doing. I got her to put a tattoo on me. That makes her hotter because he's bragging about something that he has that you don't. And I'll make an analogy here. You guys can draw the connection I'm making between the hot girl, that's the 6, and the hot girl, that's the 9. And Carl loves this too. Do you remember those videos online of guys driving sleeper cars against Ferraris, where you have a VW Bug with a Porsche engine racing against a Ferrari, and it beat? Which car are you rooting for? You're always rooting for that VW Bug sleeper car. And that is what girls are. All girls are the VW Bug. The only difference with that Porsche engine, the only difference is, at a 6, do they have the Porsche engine with a VW Bug body, or do they have the Porsche engine with a Porsche body? And I guarantee you, if none of you guys would give Tate any admiration over the girls he was doing, he would not like those girls anymore. He would probably get the girl next door. And I would like to, next time I talk to him, I probably would ask him this. And I guarantee you that'd probably be, if he was answering honestly, say, I'd probably go for a different type of girl.
And
So
just
a lot of it,
just
yeah, a lot of it is just bragging rights. Like, I'm doing her, you're not, and you can't. And that's why she's a 9 and not a 6.
And let's to double down to something this too, guys. Yeah, a lot of you are completely leaving out the fact that Andrew Tate is 6'4", good looking, celebrity, super rich in super shithole Romania. No offense to any Romanians, but like economically speaking, it's like
advantage.
He has a super advantage. These girls know that there's a reason why he can get away with, like, you know, roughing them up and being this dominating thing. They don't want to lose access to those fucking resources.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, he could sleep with any girl from a 5 to a 10, and he would probably be perfectly happy as long as they perform well and they act right around him the way he likes them to act. But if the guys don't acknowledge and appreciate him for that, I guarantee you the girls that he's doing now would probably be less attractive in his eyes. He strikes me as that kind of guy who really likes to not just sleep with her, but to sleep with her and have you thank him for it. Well, which is awesome. Good for him. I think that's great.
Listen. I understand that there are factors that add to his success, but let's not disparage Tate for putting himself in the best situation.
Not at all. No disparaging from my end.
Exactly. And
this is love, man.
Well, hang on. A lot of guys are doing that in the chat. Oh, no wonder he's super rich and he's in poor. No, listen, man. Why in the world would you put yourself in a more difficult situation just so that you can say it's tougher? Why in the world
I did it.
live in Washington, D.C., being tall and super rich and trying to game the impossible girls out there when you can move to Romania and be bagging 5s through 10s all day long? So, listen, again, we as men, it's not that we want to make things easier, but part of life is putting yourself in the best situation to be successful in any capacity of the word. I've got a question here for Carl. It comes from Rule Zero Dad, $20.
Hey!
He says, please address the bullshit. Quote, frame can overcome all fallacy. Why do some binary morons feel that they can impress frame upon a woman to completely avoid losing to her hypergamous nature?
Because some guys like to find the magic pill that will solve all their problems, and most guys are not very good with nuance. And that was one of the main issues that I got into a fight earlier this week when some chick on Twitter was like, I know 3 girls over 30 who are still virgins and just waiting for the right guy. Okay, congratulations on finding the only 3 virgins who are over 30 in North America, but how big of a percentage of the population are they, and what mental problems do they have that have ensured that no guy has wanted to fuck them for the past 15 years? So that's what it comes into for me more than anything else, is that you just have to deal with some women you're just not going to be able to fuck them. And that's why I agree with Rollo on not burning through last minute resistance as well. I want the yes girls. I want the girls who are ready to go home with me and have sex that night. I have no interest in spending 3 hours or 10 hours on a girl trying to bring her home and then dealing with LMR, then getting Me Too'd in the aftermath. So you just have to get to the point where you have to accept that you are not in control of the world. It's what's the old Serenity prayer?
Well,
give me this I cannot change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to decipher the difference between the two or something like that.
Yeah, and some girls, you go to the date, you meet up with them, you can have great chemistry, and you have fun on the date, and the girl decides she doesn't want to see you anymore. That's fine. No point in chasing. You go on the date, you have great chemistry, she comes home with you. You go on the date, she bores you to death, and while she's in the bathroom, you're running Tinder boosts to try and find your next date. Shit like that. And you just have to accept that you are one piece of this puzzle. The girl is another. The context, her situation, her ovulation schedule, the bar you're in. Ryan was laughing at me earlier because I told him if I strike out with a girl with 3 girls at the same bar, I take them to the same bar, and then I have 3 strikeouts, I never go back to that bar on a date again. He also asked if I washed my boxers between dates, and yes, I do. But anyway, the reason why I got into that is control the variables you can, accept full responsibility for them, but accept that there is no magic pill that will get you every girl you want.
Yeah, that's a very big part of it.
You have an issue.
Yeah, Rollo, you had something to add to this.
I was going to say, frame is not game. Okay, that's the first thing. Is like these guys think that if they think that it becomes the only thing for them. Like my frame wasn't strong enough. Oh, no, you're mistaking the technique with like what should be your operating condition. Okay, like when we got this guy, you guys remember this? We had that guy that called in and says, "I've got this mansion and I make $2 million a year, and these chicks see that, and then then I think they just want me for my money, And it's like, well, here's a dude who has quote, according to him, has very superior frame control. How come he's not? How come he's not somebody? Well, okay, I think it just depends on. It's not your affluence that gives you frame control. There's plenty of poor ass dudes. There's plenty of gangsters, and gang leaders, drug dealers that have superior frame. It's not that they might live in a shithole, but they still have frame. They still maintain that frame, right? So I think people kind of misconstrue what frame really is. It's like that is the world that woman wants to come into to be a part of it. You have to be solid in your own frame, but you also have to find a woman that wants to be in that world, who wants to live in that world with you. So if you got a woman who is excited by you and gets off on your frame and gets off on everything that you're all about, that's going to be more effective than if you have a frame that you believe is strong and confident. That woman doesn't want to have anything to do with you. It's the same thing that Carl was just saying a minute ago here, is I would rather have the hell yes girl than try to find some way to change myself or to change my frame so that I can get this girl to come into that frame, right? Is it really you? Because are you doing it for her, or are you doing it because of you? And that's a challenge to your authenticity. It's a challenge to the authenticity of your frame itself. And so when you're doing that now you switch over to her frame, because you are doing what you're doing to try to make your frame the superior one, because you're already operating in her frame and you want her to come over to you, right? And so frame is not game. You're not gaming this chick by making yourself into, somebody different than you already are. Okay, you're maintaining frame because that's what you do. I tell guys this all the time. I say, if you are in a relationship right now and you want your wife to, if you're in a sexless relationship and you want your wife to come around and start having sex with you, you have to start making changes in your own life, and she has to see that. Because the moment you say, "Well, I'm going to the gym for you, honey, because I really want to get in shape for you, and so that you'll have sex with," the jig is up. You don't just get it. You're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for her, and you're still making changes on yourself because you want to fit into her frame.
That's what I tell these guys, just real quick. Like when you're trying to convince this broad to bang you, whatever, go where you are celebrated, not where you are tolerated. Go for the yes bitches. Go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, well, Gladys Knight famously said in Midnight Train to Georgia, "I'd rather live in his world than live without him in mine." That is frame, guys. You want her living in your world. Shout out to the Sauce with the $10 super chat. Says, what sort of exercises would you suggest men to do to learn and internalize how to spike and play up women's emotions? Jonathan, what you got on this?
One more time. What?
He wants to know how to do push-pull game. He wants to know what exercises you should do to play up women's emotions. I got a quick answer for this, dude.
Oh, yeah.
One way to learn is repetition. You got to get out there and try. You got to fail.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. Just get out there and spike those emotions. Just get out there. Another thing is, here's the thing. If a girl likes you and you tease her, she's going to laugh. Like, oh my God. If a girl is not attracted by you and you tease her, she's like, did you just rape me? Like, she's going to be just like going to go off on a whole fucking tangent of just like trying to emotionally manipulate you into like feeling bad. So all you got to do is A or B. You have to find out, like, A, is she fucking liking me? And then B, how far can I go with her? What can I make fun of? Like, I mean, fucking Carl already blew up my spot. So my girl, I'm like, you fucking Japanese devil. I joke all the time with her. I call her a godless Japanese devil who's uncivilized and eats with sticks, right? Just like, because she gets me. She gets me. So like, I can completely say that, and she just laughs, and then we have a good old time. And so you have to find out where you can get away with and how you can deliver it to. 9 times out of 10, it's like not what you say, it's how you say it too.
Very good. Good answer. Shout out to Redman Anon with the $20 super chat. This question here is for Ryan. He says, I dated a chick who said she liked perfect bodies, then shamed me in subtle ways that I don't have it, though I am all right. 175 pounds at 5'9", 8% body fat. Dumped her. After learning red pill, still not sure what to do. Get more ripped. Redman Anon.
Oh boy, I'm 5'9", so I don't even need to hear the rest of it.
You're 5'9"?
Yeah, I'm 5'9", 175 centimeters. Or is that 5'10"? I don't know. Whatever.
Dude, we're imperial idiots here in the States, man. You got
I'm 177,
17
so I'm 5'10". You're 5'10".
Yeah, I'm
You
6'1".
son of a-
I'm probably tipping the scales at 235, so I'm bigger than all of you guys.
Point of the story is, I bet you when you describe this, you're like, I held frame and dumped her, and then I decided to go work out a bunch to meet her standards.
There you go.
Here's what happened. She made fun of you. You got butt hurt. You lashed out, but you did it calmly, so you got frame in your mouth. I don't mean to shit on you either. This is for your own benefit. I'm saying this out of love.
Yeah, shit away. They need it.
Yeah, she shit all over you. You had a temper tantrum over it, and now you're trying to play it off like that was the alpha thing to do.
Yeah.
Here's what normally happens with this. When you meet a girl, she's going to say some ignorant shit because she's a girl. And if they were nice to you, they would be in the 1950s. Then what you do in response is you laugh, and you either do a pressure flip, agree and amplify, or amused mastery. You can use whichever tool you want. What did she say about him? Was he's too short, or he wasn't? I only date ripped guys.
She liked perfect bodies. Then she
she likes perfect bodies.
Yeah,
who does you need to do amused mastery and just go, huh, and then carry on as if she didn't say anything, because women talk, and
I would just be like, are you just projecting because you don't have a perfect body? That's exactly what I would say.
Yeah, well, see, now that's one way to go it, but here's the thing: that's a little bit combative, and that kind of lets her know she might have hurt your feelings, depending on how you play it off. Or what you can do is just go, oh yeah, cool, and then just completely blow by it. Ignore the shit out of it, because ignore what she says, watch what she does. She's there with you on a date, right? She's there listening to you flirt with her, right? She's there watching you nigger, right? So what the hell do you care what's coming out of her mouth? All that is just words. And you're like, hey, I love those mouth words you made. Have another sip of coffee. Just say that. something not, or you can do a pressure flip. So what's a perfect body for you? Ask her to quantify it, and then she'll quantify it by saying things. You can either make that out to be you, but that's kind of a little bit too preachy. Like I said, personally, I just like a amused mastery. There's no way to play off her making you qualify yourself to her and then qualifying yourself, but still having the frame of the relationship. So just laugh. Oh yeah, cool. Anyway,
here's the
tell me more about your bra. Is it see-through? Are you padding it? What? Just some ignorant stuff.
Listen,
here's the thing. It's a subtext thing, and it's just like Donovan is about to say now. I hate to cut you off, but it's a subtext thing saying, yeah. Stop talking right now. Right. Just sit there and look pretty. Let me enjoy some time with you. And I'd love to say that I'm doing this because I'm hardcore alpha and blah, 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 but that's not it. For me, I just got ADD and I get bored real easy. And so at this point, I just need to be entertained. And if it comes at the expense of her feelings or her perfect dating habits, then so be it.
And that, my friends, that is the very definition of a neg, if it comes to the expense of her feelings, right? So we're bringing that full circle. Here's the perfect response to this. I like perfect bodies. Everybody does. What else is new, right? Every girl likes perfect bodies. Dude, I dated one girl. Dude, before I even fucked this one girl, she's like, I like big dicks. Everybody likes big dicks, right? make her sound
Me
like
too.
like, dude, who doesn't? What woman? Like, there are guys out here, well, I like girls with hot bodies and blood. Dude, everybody likes, dude, you're not special because you require a perfect body. And here's another thing, sweetheart, and this isn't something you should say. Just because you like perfect bodies, don't mean that you are going to get that perfect body, right?
I bet you on her profile, she says she likes having fun as if that's an activity.
You know what? I like to be rich. Doesn't mean I'm going to be rich. Get out of here with that. Last question of the day here. Last super chat question. By the way, shout out to Skeet Marine Ra with the $2 super chat. This one comes from Choco Bear MMA. $10 super chat. This question is actually for Carl. Then I want to get Rollo's take on this. He says, used to say in high school, the real hoes are the less desirable women, not the 8, 9s, and 10s, because she has to do other things to keep a man. Totally agree. What are your thoughts, Carl?
I agree with that too. It's kind of that sweet spot where they're not hot enough to get attention for being hot, and they're not smart enough to get attention for doing well in school or doing smart stuff. So they get attention by sleeping with the guys, but I don't necessarily think that's an SMV thing, because I've seen that with hotter women, and I've also seen it with less desirable women. But I think what happens between the two is that the less desirable women hit a higher volume faster. Like you have the nerdy chick who gets a train ran on her by the basketball team versus the model who sleeps her way across 47 casting couches in a month.
Right.
So it's the same number, just different methods. One is industrial production. The other one is the little cozy mom and pop
Cottage
shop.
industry.
Yeah, it's kind of an artisanal place where Ryan gets his pomade.
Don't you dare talk crap about them. They smell like fine cedar wood. They're very masculine.
Rollo, what are your thoughts?
What? I'm sorry. What was the question again? It was like, I think I already answered this, didn't I? I mean, like,
You might
She
have.
nagged him. She nagged him, and he had a temper tantrum.
well, the less attractive a woman is, the more she has to. It's just like guys and anything else. We have to make up for our deficits, right? You've got to make up for it in performance. You've got to, and what are the two, for men's biological imperative, if you want to call it the masculine imperative, it is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. Okay. Most guys are not going to get that outside of porn. Okay. That's why pornography is such a big deal, is because it gives you, it pretty much fulfills that male imperative, unlimited access to unlimited porn. And that's why when guys get into, we start to get into this, we're spoiled for choice, right? I think women like to say that, well, we can't be those unrealistic ideals. Well, you don't have to be, because guys will, if they're sexually successful with you, with who you are, that's what their preference is going to start to opt to be. If you're the hottest girl in Butte, Montana, then what do you got to worry about? And seriously, here's the thing: it's like you take those women, you put them into a different environment. That's why when girls go to college, right, they might be the hottest chick in their high school, but then they go to a major university and they're just another face in the crowd. They go from being that hot 8 that you really loved when in 12th grade, and then she's the freshman at college and she turns into a 4 because all the other chicks there are, solid 8s all the time. And so now she's like, oh, I don't understand. I'm not as attractive as I used to be. So how do they make up for that? Well, they've got to make up for it by partying, by being more accessible, right? Unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. Well, the quality has to be there. There has to be the HB, quality. She an HB 8, great. That doesn't mean shit to me if I can't access that. I was just talking to you guys about this a minute ago. When I pick my poor girls, I'm looking for approachability. I'm looking, like most guys when they're hunting for pornography, they don't fixate on like these big boob blonde chicks, like the stereotypical porn star. They're looking for, that's why amateur porn is so popular, is because those chicks are accessible. They seem accessible. They have that kind of like that element of, I could get her, on a good night, I could go out there and I could totally score with that chick. And that's so that becomes their, because they're not, if you see a chick who's like a movie star, you see a chick who's like looks like one of Tate's girls, most of these guys, all they're ever going to be able to do with that chick is throw money at her on Instagram and pretend that that's his girlfriend. But the chick that he's going to go for on a Saturday night in a club isn't going to look like that. It's going to be the one that he thinks he can get, because most beta guys believe in leagues. They believe in sexual market value leagues, right? This is another iron rule of Tomasi, is never help a girl figure out why it is that she won't fuck you. Let her do that herself. Always, never. Well, first of all, never self-deprecate, but never urge her along and say, "Well, I'm just a total loser. You would never go out with me anyways." And
Don't worry, guys. She'll figure it out like the next morning.
Well, what I mean by that is when you have that as your own mental image of yourself, you tend to limit yourself from what you probably could have gotten. You could have gotten into a situation that's a little bit better. It's good to be realistic. I'm not saying it isn't, but don't let the idea of leagues keep you from hitting on that one hot chick, because most guys will go for the one that's accessible. And so you got a girl who's like a 7 and she seems accessible, or you've got a girl that's a 9 that seems inaccessible. Which one are you going to go for? Right? The one that's a little bit easier, because we want to go for most guys want the cheat code, right? If I could tell you, if I that's why PUA is such a popular thing. It's like, oh, I got the cheat code and it better work all the time. Right. And it better be proven by science, and there better be like peer-reviewed studies of this, and it better be exactly what I'm saying. Like we've fielded tons of these questions, particularly from MGTOW guys who expect their, like from PUAs, that we have it all figured out, right? That we should have some magic plan or magic bullet for them to go and get exactly what it is that they want, and it should work every single time. And attraction doesn't happen in a vacuum. Hotness doesn't happen in a vacuum. Like I said, the chick who's hot in Butte, Montana isn't the hot chick that's in Deerfield Beach. Okay, so those that you have to keep that in mind when we're talking about attraction. We're talking about those things. I should also say this is, I want to throw this out there because what was it? Carl was just talking about this. When you see a chick who is all made up, when she's like completely like dressed to the nines, and she looks really hot, and she's going out with her friends on girls' night out, that is a different chick than the girl that you see the next morning when her makeup's off and all that, she's lounging around in her sweatpants. Okay. And that's when you see the real chick. You don't see the real chick in the club. You don't see the real chick on Instagram. You see the real chick when she's sitting in the laundromat waiting for her, clothes to dry, and all she has left is the like I said, the sweatpants or something like that. So I think there's the idealized HB chick, and then there's the actual HB. I put this post that I wrote. It's called Show and Tell, and what it is it's these porn stars who look pretty hot with their makeup on, but then you take the makeup off and they look like they just got up that morning, and suddenly they go from being like an HB8 down to an HB4,
to a BH3.
Yeah. So it's important to stay objective about this whole thing. People seem to think that beauty is all subjective and everything like that, but it's like, okay, well, it is objective, but you have to remember that it's objective in different environments. It's an objective under different circumstances and in different contexts. That's why what really pisses me off about like women can go and have push-up bras and get a boob job, and they can wear high heels, and they can do a million different things, and that's them being authentic. But if a guy runs game on you, that's, oh my God, how come you can't be, are you that insecure in your masculinity that you have to run game on girls, that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, exactly. Well, and why is that? The reason for that is because, once again, women want to be the prime sexual selectors. They want you to be exactly who you're supposed to be. You have to be 100% honest. You have to be 100% above board. If you're a sandwich artist at Subway, you better be the sandwich artist at Subway. And if you're an attorney, you better damn well be an attorney. And they will like write laws so that it's rape if you said you're one thing and you actually were something else and she had sex with you.
Yes.
Under false pretenses. It's already, in fact, they're already talking about that in legislature. It's also going along with the enthusiastic consent laws that are coming up. It'll be marital rape if your wife has duty sex with you pretty soon. So women really, this is why I said it's an existential fear. They want to know that you are who you say you are. And if you don't, then it's anything less than that is you trying to thwart their being the primary sexual selectors. And I'll tell you right now, men need to be the selectors. They need to hold women to at least the standards that women are holding to men.
Carl, what you got, man?
Yeah, I just wanted to drop something left for a good friend in the chat there. Because one of the reasons why I suggested this as a topic for today was one of the things that kind of gets on my fucking nerves is other men when other men use their subjective evaluation of a girl you're sleeping with as a disqualifier against you, or when they use it to lift themselves up. Like, I only bang 9s and 10s. no guy only bangs 9s and 10s unless he's blind. And even then, I'm kind of
Oh, Jesus.
So the thing is, every guy has. Brian had a good one. There's the girl you bang, but you don't tell anyone about. And then there's the girl you bang that you tell all your friends about. And then there's the girl you bang and show off to the whole world that you're banging. And just, it's a way to build your ethos and your pathos, you mean your credibility and your social status, but it doesn't really matter at all that much. I mean, to me, any girl who's down to fuck at 2 a.m. right before the bar closes when I'm drunk is a 9.
Yeah.
Sure. Right.
It's just that's an accessibility thing. And secondly, when it comes to, making sure that the girl really is who she says she is when you meet her at the club, that's why I always recommend giving the girl a facial on the first night, because then she has to go into the bathroom and wash all her makeup off.
All right, guys.
More or less.
All right, guys. On that note, that's going to do it for the 59th edition of the Red Man Group. Again, go to patreon.com/Red Man Group to support the Red Man Group. Thank you for all of your super chat questions. We're going to do one last round robin for the panel. Any last words? We'll start where we ended. Carl.
Yeah, sorry, I was reading my Twitter feed. What was that?
That's cool. Any last words? Website, upcoming projects, etc.
Yeah, the Tinder research, but that's going to be a few months of data collection now just to see what happens with it. I'm seeing some very interesting things with match rates.
That's going to be awesome, dude. I can't wait for that.
Well, that's going to be a real visceral eye opener, I think, for a lot of people. Just to throw one more quick thing out here is I think that guys need to understand that women are every bit as visual and every bit as visceral as men are. And the thing that if you want any proof of that, just go look at Tinder. What happened? How long has Tinder been even around? Right, like 4 years, 5 years, something like that. And look how that just look at the data that has generated. I mean, women. Guys tend to think that game doesn't make any difference because women will just swipe left or swipe right or whatever, whatever you look like. But game does make a difference because once you are there, you've got to have that congruency. Women are expecting a certain thing from a guy who looks in a certain way, right? So if you got a guy who looks like the hot fireman, he better act like the hot fireman. He better not be gay. He better not act like effeminate because that's incongruent, right? So there is the connection between the two, but like women are I won't say just as, but they are a lot more viscerally visual than I think guys will give them credit for, or they want to give them credit for. They want to think that we want to think the best of women because women are always after quality, right? Well, yeah, but you got to get to the point where she's aroused by you before you can get to the point where you can show quality at all. And so when you look at what's going on with Twitter, I one of the concerns I had when we started this conversation was that it's going to be women are going to see this and they're going to go, well, those guys don't look like they're 10s either, and try to turn it around. Or guys in here is like, well, what are these guys actually averaging? Like, what are the chicks that these guys have got with? And I'll tell you right now, my wife was a hard 8 when I met her, and she's still pretty good looking. Okay, you guys had a look at her, and some of you guys met her in person. And then of course people are going to say, well, that's subjective, right? You've got husband goggles on or whatever, wife goggles on or something. And then so you have to understand that guys are always going to have, there's going to be an element of subjectivity to beauty, and there's always going to be an element of objectivity to beauty too. So do those two match for you? A lot of guys, like I said, will pretend that they have a preference. And this is what I want to end with this question here. But it's that subjectivity becomes a part of them. It becomes an ego investment for them. So if you have a problem with whatever their preference is, it's not an attack on that preference. It's an attack on them because they involve their personality with whatever that preference happens to be. Like, for instance, I don't understand why black men like women with big asses. I don't get that.
Hey, check this out.
Right? And maybe that's all contextual. And I want to ask you that because that was a bonus question in this.
Yes, it was.
Whole damn thing. Why is it that black dudes like thick women? It boggles my mind.
Listen,
genetic,
dude,
right? I think it's genetic.
whoa, hold on. Listen,
A
here's
lot
the
of famines in Ethiopia.
well, the thing is this is I'm not the and I don't even know that the typical black guy likes these gargantuan, huge shelf booty type asses, man.
Cardi B, man, that stuff right there. Oh.
I don't listen.
She's disgusting.
It from man to man, I think it varies, but I think it's safe to say that more black men than not like these huge, juicy, fleshy type asses. And you know what? Sir Mix-a-Lot told the world about this preference in one of the probably song that'll last forever. Baby Got Back. Like, it's funny, when I heard it, I thought it was just Sir Mix-a-Lot's preference, but apparently he was speaking for all black men, right? And that's probably why black women call white women Becky's. Anyway, I don't know. I don't understand, even though, I mean, just because it's like the guy in Super Troopers who looks like he's from the Middle East, but he wasn't really from the Middle East, but they always asked him questions about the Middle East. You're asking the wrong guy. I don't like, I like proportionate. I like women that are proportionate. I don't like a woman who has shelf booty. I don't like women who have extraordinarily look. I like big boobs, but you've got to have that hourglass figure. I like a nice ass. I don't need it. I don't need to be able to put my glass. I don't need to be able
7 hours. 7 hour glass
Oh.
figure.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I like the hourglass figure, like I guess like most men. But as far as the huge ass thing, you're asking the wrong guy. I have no idea. I got no clue. All right. Well, I guess on that note, we're gonna go ahead and end things here, dude. Guys, 2 hours and 51 minutes. I think this is definitely
a good show.
Oh, yeah, one thing, Donnie, before you leave, then look, guys, we got like 20,000 guys in here. It's awesome. So glad you're supporting the show. Realize I just put a link to mine. I got a channel. John's got a channel. Rolo's got a channel. You guys are loving this. I guarantee you, there's 4 times as much stuff out there that you haven't even started to see yet. Go check out everybody's individual channels. Go subscribe, hit the like button, all that stuff you're supposed to say. I guarantee you won't be wasting your time.
If this is like cocaine, then each and every one of us, like by ourselves, it's like an individual crack rock.
Yeah. And they get a lot of the context because we'll say something here. It's a one-off statement that's very flippant. And there's like an hour podcast and a book that one of us have written that's all got so much behind it. It's totally worth it.
Very good. Man, dude, Drunk Ryan is awesome, Ryan. I love it.
Buzzed Ryan. I'm not drunk.
Buzz Ryan, my bad, because Buzz Ryan is drunk.
I don't know. You're kind of slurring. I think you're drunk.
I'll murder your family, you son of a bitch.
Show. We will get back here next week. I am not going to be on the show next week because next Saturday, that is moving day for Donovan. I'm not going to be on the air all of the week after next. Build my new studio, going up, upgrade departments. But I'll try to tune in on my phone as I'm moving, but great show, guys, as always. And the guys will see you next week for episode 60.
Yep.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.